Welcome in here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Nick Sturdivant. Welcome in. It is Tuesday. We're chugging along through this week. Carlene Bragg is here with me this afternoon. How are you doing, Carlene?
Hold on. I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well. Carlene busy. I always ask her to speak when she's busy at her most busy times. So
you lose track of time. All of a sudden it's 12:30. I gotta get back here. You know how it is.
As she made it on time. We're all good. Look, speaking on time, not really, but Artemis 2. They had some delays because of safety, and that's the most important part. So that is a look at the countdown clock. So after weeks of delays, NASA is finally poised to launch the historic flight to send the crew of 4 astronauts on a 9-day mission around the moon and back. It's scheduled to lift off tomorrow, April 1st. 6:24 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That is a live look at Artemis 2 there at Cape Canaveral, Florida at the Kennedy Space Center. Again, expect it. If all goes well, again, safety is the most important thing when it comes to this mission. That's why it's been pushed back. So earlier today, we got a chance to speak with a NASA expert to break down all you need to know and all you should know about this mission. Let's take a listen in.
Because in just about 31 hours, we are going to hopefully grab this moment to capture the world's attention. NASA's Artemis 2 test flight set to carry 4 astronauts around the moon. So joining us this morning here from Kennedy Space Center in Florida is Katie Oriti, the manager of Orion European Service Module Integration with the Orion program. NASA expert. That's how we know you, Katie. Thanks for joining us here this morning.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. Good morning.
Good morning to you. Okay, so let's just start with the basics for people who have been under a rock for the past couple of months or years. What is the purpose of Artemis 2 and these 4 astronauts as they head towards the moon?
Yeah, absolutely. So Artemis 2 is a test flight. It's the first crewed test flight of the Orion spacecraft with a Space Launch System rocket. We flew Artemis 1 a couple years ago. That was an uncrewed test flight to do an initial checkout of our systems. Now, before we do more complex missions like landing on the surface of the moon for the Artemis program, we first want to do this test flight with crew to check out things like our crew and life support systems to make sure that we can sustain a habitable environment in the Orion crew module for the duration of a 10-day mission out to the moon and back. So it's a really important flight to make sure that we get good data, good indication of the performance of our spacecraft with our 4 astronauts on board before we do really exciting and more complex missions.
What can you tell us about the crew, the 4-person crew, and what is training like for them?
Yeah, absolutely. So our 4 crew members are Reed Weissman. He's the commander. He flew on the International Space Station prior to this mission. Victor Glover, who is the pilot. He piloted Crew 1, which was a SpaceX launch, and also went to the International Space Station. Christina Cook, she's flown to the International Space Station multiple times. She's the mission specialist. And Jeremy Hansen, who is our Canadian astronaut, also serving as a mission specialist. This is actually his first mission, so first time in space, and he gets to go to the moon. Really cool. So for the past year or so, the crew has been going through a really extensive training to make sure that they understand the spacecraft that they're about to board and take out to the moon, going through procedures to make sure they understand how things are supposed to work, what they're supposed to be doing. They have a very regimented schedule and timeline. So they've been practicing all that, so they have it down like science before they execute the mission. And leading up to the launch, they've been in quarantine, so we want to make sure that they're very healthy before they journey out to the moon. So they've been in quarantine, going through the procedures some final times, again, just to make sure that they're totally ready to go, and spending some quality time with their families before they embark on the 10-day mission.
All right, and what will they see on this 10-day mission?
Yeah, I can't wait to hear that. That's a really unique aspect, right, of having crew on board. So they will see really great imagery of the Earth initially. So when we launch from Kennedy Space Center, they will spend about 24 hours in Earth orbit, and we'll do that to check out the systems on the Orion spacecraft and make sure everything looks good and ready to go before we send them on the way to their moon. As they're journeying towards the moon, the Earth is going to be getting smaller and smaller, and the moon is going to be getting bigger and bigger. And as they get close to the moon, the crew will be looking out their windows, looking at the surface of the moon. They've actually been trained by our NASA scientists to look for geographical features on the surface of the moon. So they're going to tell us what they see. And then I think probably the most exciting, and what I would encourage all of your viewers to follow along, is the Earthrise. So as the crew circles around the moon, they'll go towards the backside of the moon, and as they exit out of the backside of the moon, they will actually see the Earth rise from behind the moon. It'll be similar to the iconic images from the Apollo 8 mission. So I know that inspired a lot of the Apollo generation, and I hope it has the same effect, and then everyone will follow along for that Earthrise imagery before the crew comes back to Earth.
Oh my.
All right, so that was Katie Oriti, NASA expert, breaking down everything we need to know about this Artemis 2 launch. And our meteorologist, Brad Panovich, will hold us down. James Brierton, also a producer behind the scenes, doing a lot of work, putting a lot of work for us as we provide you some of this content for the Artemis 2 return to the moon, hosted by Brad Panovich and Betsy Kling. Make sure you tune in and make sure you stay with us here on WCNC Plus with a full breakdown of that launch. All right, so let's switch gears now. Let's come back here at home. All right, so we've been talking about this for a while, but today was a big day because a newly formed committee focused on transit safety and operations, meeting for the first time today, marking an early step in how leaders plan to oversee and improve the region's public transportation system. Our Jesse Pierre is at that meeting, I should say is at that meeting, or was at that meeting. Jesse, fill us in. Where are you at?
Well, I'm right outside of the government center. So the meeting took place. It was 2 hours long, a lot of information. So there's several subcommittees for the MPTA, and one for planning, one for finance, and this one was for safety and security. And like you mentioned, this committee, this was their first meeting, and so there was a lot to go over. And today was really focused on an overview of what safety and security means, what it means to, what their operations would look like. And really, that was kind of the major focus, their operation structure. They had a presentation just kind of breaking all of that down, how they the things that they've done. Also, they mentioned after Irina Zaruska stabbing, how the efforts that they've taken to strengthen security, getting the PSS, a third-party security, working, which they said is really working like its own police department already. The extra patrols, the ATVs, and et cetera. So really, it's kind of like breaking down an overview of what's under this umbrella, so we can get forward on what we want to do to increase safety and security, improve ridership experience, customer satisfaction, and overall service in general for folks who ride the rail or bus lines and so forth, making sure that, the community feels safe using it, folks who work with cats feel safe, and, again, just making sure that they have a good environment for everyone who uses the service.
All right, Jesse Pierre there, live there. And you can catch Jesse at 4 and 6 o'clock this evening with more on this. Jesse, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
All right, let's head to break. We'll be back here in just 2 minutes here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Welcome back here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Nick Sturdivant. Let's get a check of our weather because it's going to be 80 degrees today. We've been saying this for a while, so that's not a huge surprise, but 80 degrees. We're going up from here.
We're celebrating.
I was about to say,
I love 80 degrees.
This is Carlene's weather right here.
My favorite degree is 83.
83. Why 83?
It's perfect.
Okay.
It's a perfect, it's not too, too hot.
Okay.
In the sun, it's probably a few more degrees higher than that. It actually feels like, I don't know, it's perfect. I could splish splash in that weather.
I lied to Majestic earlier this week. I said 65, 70 is my favorite running weather.
Yeah.
I'm going to dial that back. Actually, this morning was perfect running weather.
What was it this morning?
It was like 50 in the low 50s, mid 50s.
Okay.
That was really solid running weather.
Yeah.
I saw a couple of people out there. More people I saw out there that run. I run pretty early.
Yeah.
There are folks out there pretty early this
Yeah.
morning, earlier than what I usually see. Usually
Everyone
around.
sees summer on the horizon. They gotta get their run on.
Some people without shirts. Mm-hmm. And I'm like,
That's
it's
bold.
Not,
That's
I'm
bold.
like, yeah.
That's
it's
a
not,
bit much.
it's
You're
not
just
that
showing off
warm.
at that
Yeah.
point. Come on
Not
now.
that warm at 5
There's
o'clock.
children
in the morning.
around.
Yeah. I'm around. It's 5 o'clock in the morning. It's not that warm.
Yeah.
With all that being said, let's get a check of your full forecast. Meteorologist Majestic Storm.
Well, good Tuesday afternoon to you. I'm WCNC meteorologist Majestic Storm, and it is going to be another nice day today across the Carolinas. We're calling for partly sunny skies today, but truthfully, the big weather story, it's all about the warmth. The daytime highs today, we're back into the 80s. We get even warmer as we look towards Wednesday and Thursday. Warmer, and you'll even notice a little humidity out there, a little bit of moisture in the air over the next several days. With that being said, scattered showers are ahead and even the potential of few isolated thunderstorms. Let's start with the temperatures though, because yesterday it was still a gorgeous day and our temperatures, they were really quite comfortable. 73 degrees is where we topped off at, and today we're turning up the heat with those low 80s returning. You'll see throughout the rest of the day today calling for a good mix of sun and clouds, and those temperatures, they are going to be warm with only a small chance for a random stray shower. Now really the pollen, how are your allergies? That's the big question. It's not looking good. Our pollen levels are still very high today and getting even higher as we're heading through Thursday. You can see there. So those who suffer from allergies, I know it's been tough, and unfortunately as we're wrapping up the month of March and heading to April, we're still not done with it. It'll be a little bit breezy at times with some of those winds gusting in from the west and the south, and some of those winds gusting up to around 20 to 25 miles an hour. And overall today, our highs are above where we should be for just about everyone. 71 degrees there in Boone, 81 in Lincolnton, much of the same as we're looking down across Rock Hill. Overnight lows tonight, again, very comfortable with a mix of upper 50s and low 60s. So waking up tomorrow morning, we'll be heading into the low 60s. So we're not cooling down a whole lot, really setting the tone for another warm day for our Wednesday with high temperatures topping off around 84 degrees. We'll hold on to those 80s through Thursday. By Friday, we do see those temperatures drop a bit. Another warm one on Saturday, and then by Easter Sunday, mid 70s there, and then next week, more seasonal conditions into the 60s. Now, we're going to be watching several rain chances over the next several days, and a little more humidity out there, which means there'll be more moisture in the air. This is all good news because remember, we are still under that burn ban until further notice. This is for the entire state of North Carolina here. You'll notice a little bit more humidity, especially on Friday, and with that being said, that's going to be our next best opportunity to actually receive some more rain. Really, we're focusing on Friday and then again, unfortunately, on Easter Sunday. There's our surface map. You can see it's quiet today. We'll enjoy a little sunshine and warm weather while we have it, but really we're watching this next system push through, especially as we're heading towards Sunday. That seems like it'll bring us the next best opportunity for more of that rain, especially in the afternoon and evening. So plan accordingly. accordingly if you have any Easter morning plans. Anywhere from about 1/4 of an inch to 1/2 of an inch is what our models are picking up on, but generally, now that we're going to be heading into April, seems like our weather pattern could switch a little bit more into a wetter weather pattern, which we need. We've been talking about how dry it's going to get and how dry it's actually been. 81 degrees on Saturday, and then on Sunday, 75 degrees with those passing rain showers. So keep that in mind. Jerry Hunt Supercenter 7-day forecast looks like this. We have 3 days in a row of low to mid 80-degree temperatures. Nice mix of sun and clouds. We're staying really dry until Friday. We'll mainly dry things out by Saturday, and then Sunday, make sure you stay close to our weather team. We'll keep you up to date with the very latest forecast. Have a great day.
All right, yeah, beautiful forecast there. Can't complain. Let's take a quick break. We'll be back here in just 2 minutes here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Welcome back here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Nick Sertivant. All right, let's get to it. I know you've noticed it at the pump. You noticed it probably at the grocery store. But we'll start here. And I'm reading this from NBC News. I want to read just a little bit of this. So the average price of a gallon of gas hit $4 today for the first time since mid-2022. That is right. That is right.
Boo.
This comes as, I don't know if you hear the boos, but this comes as the cost of oil surges during the Iran war. Now, in the month since the U.S. and Israel attacked Iran, the average price of unleaded gas has spiked more than $1 a gallon. Let's bring in Julie Kay, covering all things politics. Julie, I heard the flurries of boos and
We got 4 thumbs down. Hold on.
4 thumbs down.
Nobody likes this.
No.
You talk to folks.
Yeah.
What are they saying?
4 thumbs down is what
Okay.
that was a direct. That was called a tease.
Thought something would
in our business.
change, but it did.
Yeah. No one's happy, of course.
Yeah.
No one wants to see this, whether you support the war or not. No one likes to see prices get higher no matter what. We did, of course, get a statement from Caroline Leavitt, White House press secretary, basically saying that once this war is over, this is short-term pain. then things will go back down to what she says are record lows that people were feeling before. That being said, we do not know when this war is going to end. We heard from Pete Hegseth, Secretary of War, at his first briefing on the war in probably about 2 weeks, and he was asked directly about, timeline here, and he couldn't really give us a good picture of when. He kind of referenced back to President Trump saying, maybe 4 to 6 weeks, maybe 3. There's no answer right now, and that's not necessarily uncommon because, of course, they can't give us classified information. But what that says is there is no foreseeable future at this point of that ending. The Strait of Hormuz is still closed. That's where all the major trade routes go through in that region. That cuts off a lot of the oil supply to the rest of the world, including the U.S. That's why we're feeling this pain at the pump, essentially. I do have an interview later on with Gas Buddy. They are the experts on this kind of thing, so much so that the only slot they had today, period, was at 3:45 p.m.
Okay.
I got the last one, the last interview of
I'm
the
sure,
day.
yeah, they're getting blown up.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, this is what everyone's talking about today.
Sure.
But I did also, I went to some gas stations and I talked to people. In this business, it's no one's favorite part to go up, they call them man on the street interviews, to go up and talk to random people. I got very lucky today. I walked right up to someone who he drives for a carrier company. And so he is directly impacted by this and saying, I feel like mine has doubled. Today it's going to be more than $50 for me to fill up. I'm driving all day long, bringing people things. And that kind of goes back to what you said about you're going to start feeling it other places too. This company is already, he says, losing profits. And so, they haven't passed that on to the consumer yet, but it's possible, and that's what I want to talk to Gas Buddy about, that other industries as well will start feeling the impacts, and therefore more prices could rise too when we're talking about groceries and other services.
Farmers.
Yeah.
Think of all of their equipment. Most of it takes diesel, which
And
is even
that's-
more expensive.
Yeah.
And that's also experiencing the
Right.
same spikes that were already bad for them too. Yeah.
Ooh, a lot to process for folks. Julie, when can folks catch your story later on?
We'll be live at 4 and 5.
Live in 4 or 5. Julie K covering all things politics. Thank you, Julie.
Thank you.
All right. Let's take a deep breath. All right.
We're trying.
Breathe in, breathe out. Breathe in, breathe out.
Yeah.
All right. We'll be okay. We'll be okay. Let's head to break. We'll be back here in just 2 minutes here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Welcome back here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Nick Sertovan. We are monitoring some breaking news in Hudson, Wisconsin. Police investigating after Hudson, Wisconsin church receives a written threat to the building. This is a live look there from Care 11, their helicopter showing us an aerial of the scene there. Again, I just want to read what's on their website, Care 11. Police are investigating after Faith Community Church in Hudson, Wisconsin received a written threat to the building Tuesday morning, this morning. The Hudson Police Department posted a message on social media urging people to avoid the area around the church at 777 Carmichael Road. The sheriff's office there posted a public safety alert directing anyone within 800 yards of the church, which is located, again, on that 777 Carmichael Road location, to evacuate the area. All right. And again, they're doing this to prioritize what they're saying, quote, to prioritize the safety of the congregation, community, and staff. Law enforcement has requested everyone to evacuate the building while they conduct the search. Again, that church also posting a similar message there on their Facebook page there. But again, that is a live look at that church, Faith Community Church of Hudson, Wisconsin. They're live in Hudson, Wisconsin, as they deal with some sort of threat that authorities are trying to sort out there. We'll continue to keep you updated on that. But in the meantime, we want to shift over and start talking about Artemis. Artemis 2 expected to lift off tomorrow. We are hearing, this is the countdown clock there at Cape Canaveral, Florida, Kennedy Space Center. We are expected to hear from those astronauts and the folks involved with that mission now, actually. You want to go over there now?
They're just starting their video part of the presentation, but this will be the newest press conference.
This is the newest press conference. We heard from them this morning. What's join in progress?
Yeah.
Good afternoon. You're looking at a picture of the Artemis 2 crew. It was taken yesterday at Launch Pad 39B with the SLS rocket and Orion spacecraft. Our first launch attempt for the Artemis 2 mission is tomorrow, April 1st. The 2-hour launch window opens at 6:24 p.m. Eastern Time. Welcome. I'm Antonia Jaramillo, and this is the pre-launch news conference for the Artemis 2 mission. Joining us today to speak about the launch countdown is Jeff Spalding, Senior NASA Test Director.
Good afternoon.
And Mark Berger, our 45th Launch Weather Officer with the Cape Canaveral Space Force Station.
Thank you.
They're going to provide some brief opening remarks, and afterwards we're going to take some questions from media here in the room as well as online. For those joining us over the phone, you can press *1 to ask your question. So without further ado, we'll kick it off with you, Jeff.
Thank you. All right, and good afternoon, everyone, and welcome, and thanks for joining us today. We are a little over 29 hours from our opening of the launch window tomorrow, and I am very excited myself, and just coming from the firing room just a little bit ago on my way over here, talked to a bunch of members of the team, and I'll say, normally when we're in the firing room working over there, folks have got their heads down and they're working and they doing all the business that we do of the space business, but I'll say there was a lot of smiles today, so felt really good about that. As the team is preparing, I think everybody's pretty excited and understands the significance of this launch. We did talk to the flight crew last night. We had a briefing with them. We had another one just a little bit before I went down to the firing room. We had another briefing with them. Last night was just to kind of go over the day of launch routine with them and kind of a refresher for ourselves and for them, and that went really well. They were in great spirits. And then we had another briefing today just to talk about how the launch countdown was going, and as we'll talk here in a little bit, it's been going really well. Let's see, since Charlie spoke to you yesterday, we've got quite a bit of work done. We started out yesterday, the first thing we do usually is fill up the sound suppression systems with water, and when we start working on getting the liquid oxygen, liquid hydrogen systems ready for our propellant loading that's coming up in the future. We did power up all of the vehicles. We powered up the Orion core stage as well as the ICPS yesterday. We did communication checks, RF checkouts on the systems, and then after that we got through all of that work. Then we went ahead and powered down the ICPS because there was no more work for them until later tonight when we power ICPS back up. But of course, core stage and Orion stay powered up through the remainder account. Today we got launch pad ground system configurations in work. We're doing closeouts in a number of areas. We're doing walk downs as we work through the pad to make sure everything is configured for launch. We're also in work on the late stow right now. We should be getting the avatar and the bags that we're doing in the late stow going up. They were prepping them in the PTCR down in below the pad terminal changeout room, which is the area beneath the pad where we have some rooms, and getting those ready to go up, and they should be being installed as we speak. And then let's see, tonight we're going to be doing a whole lot of other work as we get ready to clear the pad. We do have some work associated with the Orion ground equipment and systems that we use to do the leak checks on the crew suits. And so we'll be working those later tonight to configure those and check them out and make sure they're ready for when we hook up to the crew on launch day. We'll be powering some of the Orion guidance systems later tonight as well. We do intend to clear personnel from the pad at about 3 in the morning at that point. And then we'll get ready for our air to GN2 changeover at about 4 in the morning. We do that. We purge the vehicle with air routinely for the whole flow. Once we get to this point where we're getting ready to add hazardous propellants like hydrogen, for example, we change over to GN2 to have an inert environment for safety purposes on the vehicle and all of the volumes that are on there. Let's see, later, once we get through the air to GN2 changeover and all the other work is done, our launch director will have a final weather brief. And once we get out of that, she'll signal the team that we are ready to start our propellant loading. And that's scheduled to occur at about 7:34 tomorrow morning. That loading takes a little over 5.5 hours. We'll work through that. As mentioned yesterday by the launch director, we have inserted some time in front of that propellant loading time frame, so that if we are in fact done with all of the work and are ready to go and we can start a little bit early, like a few minutes, we will try to take that and take every bit of time that we can to get ready and prepared for the crew and be prepared for anything else that might happen. So we did that purposefully to give ourselves a little bit of room in that time frame based on the launch director's guidance. Let's see, during the propellant loading, the flight crew will wake up at about 9:45 tomorrow morning. They'll have breakfast and start working towards their preparations for launch day, getting their suits on and doing all the other work that they have to get ready to head out to the pad. And then once we get to all stages replenish, which is a little after almost 1:15 in the afternoon tomorrow, we'll send a closeout crew to the pad. All stages replenish is when we're done tanking, essentially. We filled all the propellant onto the core stage and the upper stage ICPS. And at that point, we're only just replenishing the propellant that's boiling off at the same rate, so we keep it full. We do lose quite a bit of propellant during that time frame, and so we will continue to just work that throughout. After that, we'll send a flight crew to the pad. They're going to head out a little before 2 o'clock and to get into the spacecraft. As I mentioned, the closeout crew is going to go out before them, so they'll have been working that time to prepare the capsule for the flight crew arrival. And then the flight crew will get out there, and then they'll work in the insertion portion, in which we're going to strap the flight crew members into the seats of Orion, and after that we'll do the final closeouts in the crew module. We'll close the hatches. There's some pressurization checks we do and some other things and at the end, and then we'll clear the white room and then get ready to get into terminal count. Our closeout crew clears the white room at about 5:30 tomorrow night. It's almost an hour before launch. That's our plan time. After that point, we'll finish the rest of the work and configurations that we can do remotely, and then, excuse me, we'll proceed into the launch team poll, and then after that, the launch director will perform her management poll, and then we'll get in a terminal count for the last 10 minutes of launch countdown. So that's essentially the work ahead of us. And I would say that our team has been working amazingly hard through these weeks and months trying to get this vehicle ready to where it is. We've had some challenges. The team has done an outstanding job managing each and every one of those throughout all of this, through many different scenarios, through weather, through lots of different things that we've had to work through to try to get through all of this and get to where we are today. People are excited and ready to go on this this first chapter on our way back to the moon since the 1970s. So we're very excited. So, Mark, over to you.
Right. Thank you, Jeff. Good afternoon, everybody. So amazing times. It's great to be here at this point, and of course, weather has been a nuanced thing for us at times here in the generation phase of this mission. But again, look outside right now, great weather. Hopefully we will keep all of that, although the breezes continue to be an issue for us, but a minor one for us in terms of weather. If we could pull up the satellite imagery here, you can see currently what we're looking at. Another beautiful day here in Florida. See a few cumulus clouds moving from the east side of the state towards the west. That is our onshore flow that we've had really the most for the last 2 weeks or so. And a few of those cumulus clouds could evolve later today into a few showers, much like what we saw yesterday evening. And again, that's going to be one of the watch items for weather as we go into tomorrow and tomorrow afternoon as well. Let's take a look at some of the overview slides here just to kind of give you a synopsis of what we're looking at here. So the breezy weather does continue. Again, Artemis is a very resilient vehicle, so despite the breezes, it looks like that concern is a minimal concern for our day of launch. Lightning risk with any sort of showers that we have is quite low, generally only on the order of 5 to 10%, and that would be generally during the late afternoon, and any of that activity pushes towards Orlando after that. So again, it leaves us in a better spot here for our launch opportunity. We take a little bit look at what else could potentially be of an impact. You may have heard about the sun has become a little bit more active. Here over the last day, we've had a solar flare erupt, but again, no or minimal impact for us out of that, as most of the energy is not earthward facing. So again, we continue to look good in that department as well. We look towards backup opportunities. So for whatever reason, if we can't utilize tomorrow, the weather, of course, is a changeable entity, and we do have a tendency to move towards somewhat less favorable through the rest of the week. It isn't a huge drop-off, but again, kind of a little bit more of a situation where we'll have to monitor those feisty cumulus clouds and potentially a few showers and breezes as well. So we go to the next slide, please. And again, I just wanted to bring this up real quickly with the sun. So this was an image here from this morning. Again, the area that's circled on the solar disk, that is the area that we were watching that produced a solar flare yesterday. Again, it's directed most of its energy away from the Earth, and in fact there's been no response in terms of the particular particles that we look at that could influence the launch vehicle. And so by this point, or within the next couple of hours, if we don't get a response at all from our satellite data, then that threat will have waned as well. We'll still have to watch that sunspot group, however, because it is rotating off towards the center of the solar disk. So again, this flare not a concern, but should there be additional ones, that will be something that we'll have to monitor a bit. But again, at the current time, I see no issues in terms of our launch capability for that. Next slide, please. All right, and taking a look at our cross-section. So we meteorologists like to look at the atmosphere not only on maps, but we also like to look at what's happening through the depth of the atmosphere and with time. So here at Kennedy Space Center on this graph, you can see the metrics there, altitude there, going up into the atmosphere basically to the level of what a jet aircraft would fly. And then in time, we go from left to right from today through the weekend, including our launch opportunities. So the green on this map, which pops out here, is just a moisture profile. It doesn't necessarily mean rain. It just means that there's a little bit more of a predisposition for more clouds and rain. You also see the winds on there. Those are the black lines that are there with the little barbs on the end of them. So that gives us an indication of wind speed. So right now we're out of the east-southeast. We'll generally remain in that direction. We might back a little bit more to easterly winds as we go, but generally speeds in the 15 to 20 knot range, which again does not violate any of our liftoff weather constraints there. You do see superimposed on there the various launch opportunities, including tomorrow as the primary window, and then the next 3 days. So you do see a day-to-day fluctuation with that moisture content on any given day. We'll likely get a few showers to develop off of that. But again, with the onshore flow, most of those showers with the sea breeze each day, which tend to be the more vigorous showers, will move off towards Orlando. You do see towards the end of this chart, so going into the weekend and beyond, a much more massive amount of moisture, the green there. And did want to point that out because this is just but one model at one time, and there has been a fair amount of inconsistency to how that moisture evolves. There's just pretty strong hints that we will see an increasingly unfavorable environment as we get beyond this weekend and maybe late into the weekend. But again, I wanted to point that out because some of the charts I'm going to show utilizing another model gives you an idea of the battle that us meteorologists follow every day with trying to assess the uncertainty component of the atmosphere. So next slide, please. All right, so this is for tomorrow. Again, the green blotches here would indicate rain. You can see still an onshore flow. You do see a little bit of green to the west of us. Again, that would be sea breeze-driven activity that has moved off towards the west during the late day hours. But still, if you squint hard enough, you can see a few green blotches lurking in the Atlantic waters. Again, much like yesterday evening, if you were out and about, the few showers rolled in. That is certainly a possibility for us, again, for tomorrow evening. Next slide, please. We are now in range, though, of some of our more high-resolution model guidance. So this indicates two different models that we look at here for the opening of our launch window for tomorrow evening. You can see some of them showing a few blotches of showers offshore, particularly the model that's on the left there. The right is mostly clear for us and has more of the showers, again, to the west of us. And again, in this pattern with an onshore flow, any showers that we have will move from east to west there. So again, it looks pretty good. Even if we have showers around, we have a 2-hour launch window, we should be able to shoot the gap between those showers, and none of these look particularly vigorous. Again, as I mentioned, the risk for lightning, which would expand our standoff distances as far as us launching a vehicle, looks pretty minimal for that threat for tomorrow. Next slide, please. So putting the graphics into numbers here, still maintaining a 20% chance of a no-go condition during the launch window. So the optimistic side of me says that means 80% chance of go here. Again, isolated showers wandering around, but again, a lot of real estate between those showers in all likelihood. So again, we should be able to find some clear air to launch Artemis 2. Again, there's those winds out of the east-southeast, 15 to 20 knots, mild temperatures there. And again, the order of concerns from the weather standpoint here, cumulus cloud, and then winds would be a secondary threat, and then a much more distant threat would be solar weather. Again, the current flare, not a concern. It would be if there were any additional ones that form on the sun, potentially we would have to watch those. So let's go into the next day for our Thursday. Again, pretty similar pattern, still onshore flow. It does look a little windier, again, so that is an additional concern. And you also see a little bit more green, at least in the area. So again, I do suspect that a Thursday evening attempt would have a little bit more weather to deal with. So a POV of roughly 40% is what I'd be advertising for a Thursday evening launch attempt. Again, very similar concerns with the cumulus clouds and the winds as well. And then the next day, going into our Friday to close out the work week here, again, you see very similar pattern. Winds still in that roughly 15 to 20 knot range, and easterly or southeasterly, and still some green blotches out over the ocean. So again, that's a hint that there'll still be enough moisture to generate some showers. But there does again look to be more breaks in that weather for Friday. So POV would go back down to 25%. So roughly in the same ballpark as tomorrow for Friday. Tomorrow still looks to be probably the most optimum day of the lot. And then,
all right, so that is the Artemis 2 press conference. Let's take a quick break. We'll be back here in just 2 minutes here on WCNC Plus Live Impact News. Welcome back here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Nick Sturtevant. We want to take you back out to the Artemis 2 press conference happening right now in Florida. Let's take a listen in.
By a couple.
All right, we will go to Marcia Dunn.
Marcia Dunn, Associated Press. How much wiggle room do you have to either halt the countdown or deal with a solar flare that is a big one and comes out at you like during the once tanking begins? I just didn't know how much heads up time you need, and just sort of talk about that, please.
So we have launch commit criteria that are outlined for the solar weather, and those go down to T-minus 6 minutes. And so we would be evaluating those throughout. Mark and their team would be looking at those, and if there were an LCC violation, would call it back through the launch weather officer to the launch director. Mark, I don't know if there's anything you wanted to add there, but
yeah, I'll add a little bit. That's exactly right. And just to give you kind of a background, currently our satellite data from this most recent event that erupted yesterday, as far as the actual particles or protons that would potentially impact a launch for the vehicle, we're running about 2 orders of magnitude below our constraint, and that's just barely above background levels. So again, we have a lot of time to see the response, and in fact, these particular particles, the protons, they are laggards. So if there's an eruption, we'll get the X-rays first. Those will be detected by satellite, and then the protons follow, and those are the ones that are a little bit more nuanced in terms of the actual ability to launch. Those are where the constraints are based. So we do have lead time for that.
Thank you both. We'll go to Jackie, right there in the last row.
Hi, thanks for doing this. A question for Jeff. We've been learning over the past few days that because of this larger hydrogen tank, there's more flexibility with recycling. But we also were told that if you have to hold or abort for weather or technical issue after T-minus 5 minutes, that you can't do a same-day recycle. I was wondering, can you walk us through that? Why is that T-minus 5 minute mark significant? And we'd just love to hear more about what is and isn't possible during terminal count.
So the main driver in a recycle is the amount of time that you have, because a recycle does take a fair amount of time. For us, it's about 75 minutes. If we've gone all the way through from 6 down to about a minute and a half, or even down to 33 seconds, and we've been in that time frame, it can take us as much as 75 minutes. It takes less than that the closer we are to 6 minutes, because that's when we stop actually topping off the tanks at that point, and we shut everything off and it's boiling off. And so, but the 5-minute constraint, it's not really a constraint there for us as to whether we can or cannot. We can do a recycle as long as there's enough time in the launch window to perform it. We can do a recycle all the way down. The only constraint we have is if we get inside of T-minus 33 seconds and we have a cutoff, then we're going to have to scrub for the day, because we can't recycle from after 33 seconds.
All right, we'll go up front right here.
Yes, Bert Dicht from Ad Astra Magazine, National Space Society. We often hear that about 400,000 people were involved with the Apollo program, and certainly tens of thousands have been involved with Artemis. As we get ready to the launch, I just want to recognize the workforce and see what's their mood as I know they're focused in on their jobs, but how are they all feeling?
Well, the people that I get the pleasure to work with and talk with are extremely excited. We have a large mix of young and more seasoned people like myself, and as such, everybody understands the significance of this mission, and especially the flight crew. But the team that I get to work with, they come in every day. And people are concerned sometimes that we are working so hard towards these milestones and things, but there really isn't. People love coming to work. They love doing this job, and that's why they're here. And they work through it every single day to get us to this point. I think everybody understands what our mission is, and that's to get back to the moon, and we're going to establish a presence there in the very near future. And the fact that we've changed direction and been able to get some additional launches, that really changed the calculus for a lot of people as to what we were doing and how we were going to get there and the things that we're going to do. So I think there's a lot of excitement and fervor within all of the groups that are out there, but especially here at Kennedy, the folks that I see are very, very excited to get on with this mission and get started with the next one. And we got boosters coming in a month, so we're going to be looking for that.
Thanks, Jeff. We are excited. All right, we're going to take some questions over the phone. We have Ken Chang with the New York Times.
Thank you. This is from Mark. I was just wondering, when you say there's a 20% probability of violation, is that 20% for the entire 2-hour window, or is it 20% that there will be a red during the window? And if it's the latter, can you say what the chances are that there would be a launch opportunity? Thank you.
Yeah, good question. So again, the 20% just refers to the probability of having a violation during the launch window. That violation could last 5 minutes, it could last 30 minutes, it could last an hour. In this particular setup, I would imagine that if we get a violation, generally cumulus cloud would be the most likely candidate, probably in and out inside of about 30 minutes. And then again, as kind of the high resolution models hinted to and what the pattern supports, likely we would have additional opportunities within a 2-hour duration window.
Thank you. Next up, we have Christopher Mick with the Hudson Star Observer.
Thank you for the information today and for holding this briefing. I just wanted to ask a follow-up kind of on the weather hold question. I know you can't completely control that with where you are in the count, but I think you mentioned, Mark, in the 2-hour window, there's some bands of green that could potentially be coming through. Is an optimal situation? Could you kind of walk us through? Is that like holding at 10 minutes and then you're waiting for that band to move through and proceeding on from the 10-minute mark? Is it at 20 minutes? Is there kind of a, what are the opportunities for kind of being the best to hold at?
As far as the holds go, we have very prescribed holds as to where we can hold. Generally, if we have a weather constraint, we're going to hold it T-minus 10 minutes. We won't pick up the clock from there generally if we have a weather constraint. If we are counting between 10 and 6 minutes, we can hold at 6. We can hold there for quite a while, actually, through the remainder of the launch window if there is a violation that occurs between 10 and 6 of any of our weather LCCs. So we can sit there for a while. If we pick up a weather constraint inside of T-minus 6 and counting, if it's something that's most likely, if we're going to have a constraint, we're probably not going to get it in a very short period of time. So we'll have to do a recycle and then come back and see if the weather's going to be good on the other side of that. But we have very prescribed hold points and where we can, stop and then pick up the clock again as required.
Thank you. We'll now take questions back here in the room. We have one here right up front with this gentleman over here.
Hi, good afternoon. Tom Costello with NBC News. As you are now back on the pad, and of course in February you dealt with the issues on the wet dress and the tanking issues, what will be the earliest concerning signs you'll be watching for as you begin tanking tomorrow morning, assuming everything is going well, but you will clearly have your eyes very closely monitoring that tanking progress? What will you be closely watching for that there could be signs of trouble?
The first thing we would probably be looking at is a recurrence of these events that happened previously, right? So once we get in a fast fill on hydrogen, that is where we had the previous issue where we had the leaks. We believe that we've solved those through, we've changed the seals out, we've done exhaustive testing, and so we feel pretty good about that. We went through a wet dress with that seal, so all of that says that we feel pretty good about all of that. But that's where we would generally be looking at, first of all, is right there at the beginning when we transition from slow fill to fast fill on the hydrogen side.
Thanks. We'll take some more questions over here in the room. Let's go over to this side. We'll go right here up front as well.
Hi, Sawyer Rosenstein with NSF. We talked obviously about the weather here at the Cape and around the area, but what about abort weather criteria? Can you go into what that looks like for the coming days? And also, how often are you measuring it? How are you measuring it as well?
Okay. Yeah, good question, and a complex one, actually. So the winds are obviously coming from onshore, and the whole point of, in case of an abort, is if we have to utilize that system, we do not want to have the Orion capsule land back on land. So there are particular thresholds, are really the component of the onshore wind that's exactly perpendicular to the coast. And so just getting a wind out of the east, southeast, the actual coastline is more oriented northeast. So we take only a fraction of that onshore component, which helps us out. Now, if the winds were starting to back, if we saw that indication on maybe one of the backup days that instead of them coming out of southeast, they were more northeasterly, we would unfortunately be exposed to a higher percentage of that onshore component. So we do look at it at a layer, not only at the ground, but all the way up through 4,800 feet, and to make that assessment, and it's an average speed through that layer, and we actually do have calculations to run that. But the decision point is actually from a balloon that is launched at L-minus 3 hours and 10 minutes. We'll be providing the launch director already with assessments of the forecast well before then. By that L-minus 3 hour and 10 minute balloon is really where we'll report the hardline data as to whether or not that component that is onshore northeasterly is actually in violation of the magnitude constraint of that. And then at that point, if that were to be the case, then we'd be continually advising the LD about what our expectations are. Subsequent balloons will be launched and will also give us a read for that. In addition to balloons, we also have the 915 megahertz sounders that we have, which also give us real-time assessments of what the wind direction and magnitude is. So we have a number of ways to address this. So even if we were to proceed deeper into the countdown, weather, of course, changes. And so the forecast component plus the actual hardcore balloon data and the sounding data gives us that ability to make a forecast and provide numbers. So it's possible at one point in the countdown we could be technically unacceptable for that low-level wind abort constraint, but then evolve to be acceptable or vice versa.
Thank you, Mark. We'll go ahead and take then the person right behind him.
Tim Dodd, Everyday Astronaut. Can you give us a quick little refresher on if we do go through an entire launch window tomorrow, and we might be holding for weather or whatever, we do have a 24-hour recycle capability for Thursday. Is that correct? And/or if that's not correct, what does the return around look like? And if we do burn up a 24-hour recycle, what then are we at 48 hours for the next attempt? Can you just run me through the full reset situation?
Sure. And we generally would refer that as more of a scrub than a recycle, because our recycle is that time that we have a second attempt. But for our scrub plan, we have opportunities. Right now we're set up for 48 and 24-hour capabilities throughout. We have 4 launch attempts available to us in 6 days, and we'll take a combination of that. As mentioned yesterday, our launch director mentioned our sort of baseline or preferred method is to do a 48, then into 24, and then followed by 48, and that to set us up for LOX tankers. But there are a lot of other factors that come into that. If, in fact, we have weather or other types of things that may say that second, if you wait 48 hours, those aren't good dates. So there's a whole lot of factors that come in to that evaluation when we determine the date. We set up for dates, and then we adjust as we need to based on what happened during that kicked us out for the scrub or any other types of things. So, but we have capabilities for 4 attempts in 6 days, and I need to have a couple of 48-hour scrubs in there so that I can take tankers for the liquid oxygen system.
Thanks. We'll now go to the other side. We'll go right up there.
Hi, Robert Perlman with CollectSpace.com. There's a long history dating back to the Apollo era guys of pulling pranks on launch day with the launch team and with the launch team pulling pranks on the flight crew. And given that tomorrow is April 1st, I was wondering if, maybe without spoiling anything, if there's been any talk about that or whether there's actually been a decision to not do that and stay away from.
All right, so that is the Artemis 2 press conference happening live there in Cape Canaveral, Florida. Again, that launch window set for tomorrow. All right, so let's come back out here. We're going to take you back to that press conference in just a bit, but first we need to take a break. We'll be back here in just 2 minutes here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Welcome back here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Nick Sturdivant. We want to take you back now to Cape Canaveral, Florida, where we are hearing from NASA officials on Artemis 2, expected to launch tomorrow. Let's take a listen in to what's being said.
Whether or not that's actually enough to trick a constraint, that's still a pretty high bar to reach.
Thank you. We'll now go up front right over here.
Hi, thank you for doing this. Ken Kramer, Space Up Close for Jeff. Tell me, I'm very interested to know about the LOX and the hydrogen testing that you're doing. You mentioned you're doing a little bit, I think. Can you go into some detail? What are you doing to ensure the best possible outcome so that we don't have any leaks, especially of hydrogen?
Well, that was essentially the purpose of, excuse me, our WDR2 as we went through that. And then likewise, we had done it. Yeah, out of the pad. When we're back, we do a number of different leak tests and pressurization tests and decay checks and those types of things throughout the system. We do more of those when we get to the pad. After we hook up the systems at the pad, we test the system from end to end for the same types of things. As far as on the liquid oxygen or system and on a liquid hydrogen system, both, we do what we call dew points, meaning we purge those to the point where we want to make sure that we have no moisture in the lines or at an extremely low level so that you don't have potential icing in the system. So we do all of these different things to make sure that the system is going to behave in the way we expect it to on launch day, and we've accomplished all of that to date, so we should be good.
Thank you. We'll now take some questions over the phone. We have TJ Mascara with the Epoch Times.
Good afternoon. Thank you so much for taking the time. My question's for Mark. Can you please give a bit of a refresh about the cloud violations and the concerns behind them?
Yeah, indeed. So Cumulus Cloud, which is the one that we're talking about here, and that's one of the Lightning Launch Commit criteria, that's actually the most commonly violated here on the east coast of Florida any time of year. Again, you walk outside most days, you'll see a puffy, what looks like a cotton ball out there. If that cotton ball gets more agitated and it grows throughout the depth of the atmosphere, that's when it starts triggering our so-called standoff distances that could cause an issue for launch. So as long as they're shallow and flat, not an issue to fly right through them. But they get up to certain levels of altitude, it could be as much as a 10-mile standoff distance between the rocket on its flight path or the launch pad and the edge of that cloud. And so, again, they have to get quite vigorous. They don't even have to produce the lightning to get necessarily at that 10-mile standoff distance. For the launch date coming up, I don't foresee any of the cumulus getting that high into the atmosphere or that cold, which would trigger that much real estate being blocked off for us. But we could certainly have fly-through considerations, which means we can't launch the rocket directly into the cumulus cloud or possibly even as far as 5 miles from it, just given how the atmosphere profile looks like. The depth of moisture is pretty shallow, even though it feels really humid out there. So again, that helps us in that consideration. But I'll also point out that just looking at our overall climatology here on the Eastern Range. So almost 1 out of 4 launches over the course of the year would have one or more no-go lightning launch commit criteria. Doesn't mean the launch scrubs, but again, it's a pretty common occurrence. Scrub would be a lot lower percentage than that. So again, that kind of speaks to the transitory nature of these clouds. You get a 2-hour launch window, they could be in the flight path and then just as soon be right out of it.
Thank you. We'll now go back to the room, and we'll take it in the second row here to this lady right there.
Nicole Mortillero, Canadian Broadcasting Corporation. Going back to the X flares, I know that there's a radiation shielding test that will be done on this mission. Can you talk about what that radiation shielding is and how it works? And if you needed to do it, let's say, day after tomorrow after launch, would they be able to do that quick enough?
Go ahead and defer that to Jeff.
Yeah, the crew has the ability, and we anticipate that if there are, in fact, any need for shielding from radiation on orbit, they have contingency plans for that. They're going to practice some of that during the mission. as far as where they go into the vehicle and those types of things. There's some space in there that they can actually move into in the vehicle that will provide an additional shielding of the components of the ship itself, which provide the shielding inside of the areas in which they would be able to get to. They also would potentially move some of the equipment near to some of by the windows and some of the other things as they do that. But there's a protocol that they have for that, and I'm not probably the most versed person on it, but that's the part that I can tell you of some of the things that they have that are capability-wise that they can do on orbit when there are any of these types of events.
Thanks, Jeff, and we can get you some more info if you have additional follow-ups. We'll go to the gentleman right next to her.
Thank you very much. Tarek Malik for Space.com. I think for Jeff, you just mentioned the need for focus and whatnot, of course, because it's April Fool's Day coming up. But by all accounts, it sounds like this has been a very smooth and continual run-up to the launch. And I'm just curious how you are ensuring that the team continues that vigilance in what has been a very staid and quiet countdown.
I would say that I wouldn't necessarily characterize that because it's quiet that we're not still doing the same amount of rigor out in the field. We're just finding less things now than we had previously. I think at times you get to a point where you have found and corrected as many things as maybe are available to you, and so the things that we find now are quite small and much less significant than we had in the past. So I hope that's a really good sign, but we still have the same amount of vigilance. We have the same procedures, the same people doing the same type of events throughout 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and we've been working up to this. And so we are still in the same posture, regardless of whether maybe it looks like it's quiet. People are still putting in the same amount of effort and working towards, because again, they know the significance of the mission and the people that we're flying on it, and that they're going to do the right thing and make sure that we're safe to do so.
Thank you. We'll go over to then the third row. We'll go to the gentleman there in the middle.
Thanks so much. Mike Mainberg, Wall Street Journal. Jeff, kind of related to what Tarek just asked, it's been more than 3 years since Artemis 1. Have you observed kind of in this process any jitters on different teams, any rustiness getting out there as the real thing unfolds? Yeah, thank you.
We've been training since Artemis 1 for this time, right? But we've also had to modify a lot of our procedures, hardware, equipment, training, and other things to get to where we are. As we've worked through that, it has been a building process for sure. We've seen that just in working through the WDRs, and the number of items that we've picked up each time has continuously gone down when we got through the countdown demonstration test and the WDR2. And so, again, I would say if anything, we're learning, we're getting better. We're in the ability for us to improve our procedures is at a point where I think we're at a really good state now, and almost at a steady state to where we're where we need to be certainly for this mission, and we'll continue to improve that. Artemis 3 is going to be a slightly different mission, but we're already working towards that. We got a lot of folks that are engaged in Artemis 3, and we're taking what we've learned from Artemis 2 and going to be applying it, and that'll be another challenge too as we work towards that.
Thank you. We'll go then to the gentleman in that same row at the far end.
Charles Fulco, Westchester County, producing Solar System Ambassador. I remember the Apollo 12 launch very well and what happened. Is there a concern that the booster might lose its guidance if there's a similar lightning strike, or the spacecraft might lose its platform, like what happened in Apollo 12? And if so, what are some accommodations for that?
So I would say for what we try to do before we would launch, because again, we create a lot of launch commit criteria to avoid that very circumstance, right? A lot of things came out of that event which have led us to where we are today for all of these requirements that we have, both on the range and for vehicle requirements and those other types of things that Mark can speak to, I'm sure, very, very eloquently. But our systems and our vehicles are very robust. We have redundancy and capability throughout. If there were any type of event that we needed to work through, it's really hard to gauge exactly what that would mean. But all of our systems are hardened against various events. They have to fly in space, many of these, right, where we have to worry about solar events and other types of high energy events. So the vehicle is as robust, I think, as it needs to be, and we have the number of systems and robustness in it by having redundancy to allow us to weather many types of different things. And I don't know if you want to talk about the criteria and what's changed or not, but
Nothing to add, really.
Really?
You said it well.
Okay.
Thank you both. All right, we'll take then the one question there all the way in the back.
Hey, Nell Greenfield Boyce with NPR. This is for Jeff. So you've been involved in a lot of shuttle launches, but this one could go to the moon. And I'm just wondering, like, does it feel different for you? I mean, you look like you were probably a kid during the days of Apollo. Like, would, 10-year-old you have thought that you'd be involved in a moon launch like this? Do you think about that at all? Or how does it actually feel? I mean, there's all the things you got to check off and do, but are you guys thinking about the moon? Have you been looking at the moon at night and thinking about that at all?
I'll just say from my personal experience, I have, right? I try to walk every day in the morning, and I look up at the moon quite regularly, thinking about this mission and the upcoming missions that are going to be coming right downstream. So I'm really excited about this. I'm excited going to the moon. I'm excited about establishing a presence there. It's something that I have had a desire for a great many years, and then to get humans back out to Mars as well. That's another thing that I had. Fortunately, I had the ability to work on some of the studies that we did in the 90s on the Mars missions and things. And so I have been looking for human exploration of this solar system for a very long time, and it's part of the reason that I'm actually still here is to continue to put humans into space and to get us back into this launch mode that we are, so that we can continue to explore and establish a moon base, and then continue to work towards getting to Mars.
Thank you. We'll go to the other side. We'll go right here in the second row to the lady right there.
Hi, Brandy Campbell with Fox Weather. I have a question about weather, of course, from Mark. Just with your past experience with issuing these forecasts, when you have a similar forecast, what we are dealing with, that 20% chance of a weather violation, do y'all normally get through that 2-hour window or just the window and have a successful launch? What have you experienced in the past?
Well, of course, the forecast is perfect, so it's a 1 in 5 chance of us getting a weather violation. If we look at all the data over time, it comes out to being pretty close. But again, each countdown is different, so sometimes there's 20% that end up being no-go the entirety of the launch window. There's others, and most of them don't have a violation. So pretty close to that 4 in 5 times, and again, in a pattern like this where we have a moist onshore flow, I would be definitely thinking that we'll probably have showers around. Whether or not they get into the flight through path of the rocket, that's a whole other story. We're good because this time of year and this pattern doesn't lead to a lot of robust thunderstorms, so that does help us. It also eliminates a lot of lightning launch commit criteria, so that works in our favor as well.
Thank you. We'll go over there to the gentleman in the blue shirt, the blue collar shirt.
Hi, Pedro Palota from Space Orbit Brazil. You talk a lot about the weather for launch, but I would like to know about the weather for splashdown, and if is there a chance to move the launch day due to a bad weather for the splashdown. I know we are a lot of days for the splashdown, but the weather can improve or get worse. So I want to understand what is the backup scenario for that.
Do you want to talk the weather first?
Okay. Yeah, I can speak a little bit to the weather. So we're not, at the 45th Weather Squadron, we're not specifically issuing a forecast for the Ascent Corridor or the Pacific here. We do have a team of forecasters that will be deployed out to the Pacific for the recovery. So they'll be watching that as well and assisting in all of that. But really for us here on day of launch, the only thing downrange that we're really looking looking at other than thunderstorms and the associated clouds and the lightning launch commit criteria would be what those low-level Orion abort winds would be on that corridor. We have colleagues out in Houston, Spaceflight Meteorology Group, that are assessing risk profiles going out across the Atlantic on ascent far beyond the Cape. Jeff, I'll let you speak to the rest of it.
Yeah, and the flight team is part of that assessment that would be done on day of launch about the capabilities that we would have both for any kind of contingency landing and abort once around or any type of other event, and that folds into the launch day decision process as to whether we're going to make an attempt or not. We do have quite a bit of flexibility based on weather in the Pacific for those various scenarios. But that is essentially a launch day decision and would be part of the overall decision on whether we tank or whether we launch based on that weather criteria that come out of the flight control team.
Thank you. We'll go to the gentleman there in the back, to Stephen Clark.
The Stephen Clark, yeah. So I am Stephen Clark with Ars Technica. Following up on that last question, have you heard anything from SMG about how the ascent corridor is looking? I know that's not within your responsibility, but what are you hearing about the downrange weather in the Atlantic? And also for Jeff, just want to make sure, I know the trajectory and the azimuth changes day to day. Does it actually change like minute to minute within the launch window, and how do you manage that, if so, with different conditions at different azimuths? Thanks.
Yeah. So yeah, the azimuth does change, minute by minute. Luckily, it's a fairly small slice, so that was something we dealt with Artemis 1 as well. That impacts us because, of course, from a radar and launch lightning commit criteria, that sort of thing, we have to use those trajectories to decide whether or not a cloud would actually pose a threat wherever it is during the actual countdown. What was the first part of your question, please, again?
Sure. Just what are you hearing from SMG about the ascent corridor?
Oh, yeah, sorry. Right now, weather appears to be very much go. The threat that I saw in the last was under 9% total along the total ascent corridor, so that's really good. And in fact, the other aspects show decent weather continuing through a lot of the launch period. So having high pressure set up across the North Atlantic this time of year works in our favor.
Thank you. We'll go over to Ada right there.
Hi. Is there a defining moment in the countdown when the reality sets that humans are returning to deep space, and how do you experience that as a leader in this mission?
So for me, once we get inside of 10 minutes and counting, that's where it starts, because we all on the launch team at that particular point know that it's become real for all of us. We also know that we all need to be prepared to do everything we can to continue through that or to take any action that would be required. But it really starts to get real for me when we're inside of 1 minute. And when we're inside of 1 minute, to me, I feel very confident and very hopeful that we're going to go. But that's when the first time I think I ever actually think to myself that we really are going to make it that day, because I'm always thinking about what's going to not let us go, right? Because that's part of my job, is to stop the clock if we need to. So when we get inside of 1, it doesn't mean that we're free, because that's really a dangerous time as well. But that's when it really starts to hit home that we really got a shot at making it today. And I know a lot of people are thinking the same thing, because you can hear a pin drop in that firing room as you count from 10 down to T0. And then after that, though, it may get a little bit noisier at some point. But
thank you. All right, we'll go back to the phone. We have Kenneth Chang with the New York Times again.
And Ken had hung up at this time.
All right. We will then take one more question here in the room. I don't believe we've taken your question yet, sir.
Hi there, I'm Dominic with the Globe and Mail. I wonder if you could just say something about the closeout of the capsule, where backup crew members are going to be in the capsule. I think that's this evening, but could you clarify that part of the operation?
We have 2 time frames when we'll have the backup crew members, and we'll have 1 at each of the intervals. When we're doing the final closeouts of the capsule before tanking, we'll have one of our astronaut support personnel in there working final configurations for the crew, switch list, and a few other things at that point. And then on our actual closeout, crew team. It's a 5-person team. We do have another backup crew member. Andre's on that one, and Jenny's on the first one. But he'll be on that team, and he is responsible. He's one of the 2 people. We also have an insertion technician, Bill does that work, that is responsible for strapping the flight crew in during that time frame and getting the crew module all set up at the very, very end. And then when they're done, they come outside. But he'll be inside of the capsule during that time. The flight crew insertion at the end takes about 30 minutes or so. Once the flight crew's there, they do a little work before that, so he'll be in there before that time frame as well. And at the very end, yeah, it's pretty good to watch what those guys are doing.
Thank you. I don't see any other hands in the room. All right. Well, then with that, we will wrap up today's briefing. Thank you to our panelists for taking the time to answer all of our questions, and to the media here in the room for asking your questions. Artemis 2 is scheduled to launch at 6:24 p.m. Eastern Time tomorrow from Launch Pad 39B. That's the opening of a 2-hour launch window. You can watch our 24/7 live coverage beginning at 7:45 a.m. and you can I think see on your...
All right, so that is the Artemis 2 press conference just wrapping up there. To your right, you see that countdown clock. Again, we're tomorrow is within that window. Tomorrow evening, that's a live look at Artemis 2, that journey of those astronauts around the moon. Again, all eyes are on tomorrow. And we'll have more coverage. Check this out. More coverage from Chief Meteorologist Brad Panovich, also Betsy Kling. Artemis returned to the moon here on WCNC Plus. And on that note, let's take a quick break. We'll be back here in just 2 minutes here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Welcome back here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Nick Sertovant. So this morning, we heard from Sheriff Gary McFadden, the sheriff of Mecklenburg County, a few weeks after winning his re-election bid for sheriff. He came back here, and he's been back since winning, but he came back here, spoke one-on-one with my co-anchor, Jane Monreal. She holds down Live Impact News from 9 to 11 here on WCNC Plus. But here's that interview in case you missed it.
My next guest here in studio, of course, is Mecklenburg County Sheriff Gary McFadden, visiting us after winning the election. I believe that was the last time we saw you.
Yes, it was.
All right. So, Sheriff, you've been busy there, Department of everything. Let's start off with the announcement of your new Deputy Chief, Ricky Robbins. This person was your opponent, one of them, for the election, but now he is going to help you out there at the Sheriff's Office. And why this choice?
Well, Ricky is a great guy, and I hate to say Ricky, but we commonly refer to each other as Ricky and Gary, so please, I don't disrespect him. I'm going to get to say Chief Robbins. You know, we always been friends. He has a great background in law enforcement. He has some things that I really are interested in. You know, the traffic unit is big for me, and so we just created a traffic unit. He's going to help me with that. But, you know, like-minded, and also, as we say, cut from the same cloth. Very well respected. And when we talked about the earliness of him coming on, when we talked about me running and him running, we found out that we both were going to run very early on, and very respectful to me, and I have to say to my wife. He spoke to my wife first, and so he kept it professional throughout the campaign, and he was the only person that called me after the campaign, congratulate me, and say we should talk. And we talked, and we had a great conversation, gave him a tour of what we call the Beast, actually Central, the detention center, and we sat down and had a great lunch together, and we made a great decision for him to come on. So he starts April 1st, and that is not April Fool.
No fool there. And that is tomorrow. So what does the first 90 days look like then for him?
Well, I think he's going to come and push us to levels that we needed to be pushed. As we say, we both came from CMPD, so we have a great working relationship. He worked in homicide, and we probably have one of the same mentors, Chief Rodney Monroe. So we come from his cloth, and we're excited about it. I think the first 90 days, first 30 days, he's going to probably get his feet wet. And then I believe that after 30 days, we will see a big difference with the agency. A lot of things in what they call in the works. I'm sure he has some ideas, and I'm going to get him the freedom to do it.
Okay. All right. So the top of his to-do list, have you discussed any, broad areas?
Well, he's going to take care of the traffic. We're going to we have a traffic unit. I know he's big into traffic. I know he's big into the community and the streets. So we may create a lot of things over the next couple of months. I don't want to say years, months. So I'm excited about it, and I think Chief Robbins is also excited about it. I know we laugh and joke. We have been on the campaign trail, and people actually confused us of me being Ricky and Ricky being me. So that's a big joke that we have. So now you have both. Like one person said to me, which made me feel good about the decision. She said after one of the debates or one of the community meetings, someone says, why can't we have both of them? And I think that sums it up. So now you have both of them.
So was this something that kind of planted the seed, or once you won the election and did you decide, well, this actually might be some synergy here?
Well, it was. I mean, all along you have to look across the aisle and see somebody who has your vision. He has a great law enforcement background. And so then when you look at the campaign, if you win or if you lose, what do you do? And so either way, it's a win-win for both of us, I believe.
All right. And then so your team now, the executive team here, what does that say about the culture at Mecklenburg County Sheriff's Office?
Well, it is going to change the culture, and I think that's the biggest thing that we've always talked about, the culture. I think that Ricky is going to bring some people over that were questionable about me, and I'm going to bring some people over maybe have been questionable about Ricky. And so I think that bringing these two sides together, it is a win for the county and win for the city. We all have a great relationship with CMPD, and so we're going to have even a greater relationship with CMPD. And then, of course, Chief Robinson has worked the entire county. He came from Charlotte Police, then he went to the county police, and then we merged to become Charlotte Mecklenburg Police. So then I think that's a round robin effect that we could touch everybody in the county. And fortunately, we have a lot of great friends, mutual friends, on both sides. So when we talk about both sides, Republican and Democrat, and also in the community. So I think that bringing that combination together, and if the community is willing to come together for once and say, let's put our differences aside, as we did, we really didn't have a lot of differences, and say, let's make our city and county better.
You sound so excited, right?
I'm excited because when you really know someone, and we kind of laugh when we see each other. I know what he wants to bring. He knows my energy. I know his energy. We definitely respect each other. And so we're excited. And it's like, that's yours, Rick, you take care of that. That's yours, Gary, you take care of that. But we're going to come together and make this county great. And so I am excited about it. I'm excited about April 1st, and it's not April Fool's. We're in full force going forward, and we have a lot of ideas. And our ideas are going to be productive, and that's what I'm going to say. After April 1st, watch what happens in the city and county. We have a lot of things in what they call the hopper. We're talking about the juvenile detention center. We're talking about the traffic. We're talking about all of that. If everybody just move to the side and let us work together, as they should, we will bring you a great product. And yes, I'm excited because a lot is going to happen in the first 30 days of coming together.
All right, first 30 days. We're going to hold you to that, I'm sure.
You can hold me to it, and I guarantee you, you won't be disappointed.
All right.
If you listen to what we're doing, we will probably make an announcement this week about a house. Think about that, a house. We're going to make an announcement about a house.
A house.
A house.
Okay,
That'll
we can
come.
only begin to guess there. Sheriff, let's talk about the jail, all right? So a couple of weeks ago, you presented to the County Board of Commissioners that the numbers are up, population of 45% increase in the jail population over the past year. Walk us through what's happening. And you mentioned the detentions at the juvenile detention center, but for the big detention center, what are the plans there?
Our numbers have increased greatly. So imagine we probably have about 300 more people than we normally don't have. So what we're doing, and I still am excited about this, we are challenged, but my staff is challenged, and so we're having these meetings, but we're going to meet that challenge head on. We're going to make additional space at the detention center. I've looked at the spaces there, and so we're going to open up what they call the G unit. The G unit has been used for programs, but now we're going to use that unit for housing. So we're going to take care of housing. Most people say that they're sleeping on the floors. They're not sleeping actually on the floor. If anybody wants me to send them a picture of the apparatus that they're
All right, so that is Sheriff Gary McFadden here this morning, a weekly guest here. We try to get him in pretty regularly here in Live Impact News on WCNC Plus, 101 with Jay Monreal. You can catch that interview right now on WCNC Plus, also on our digital platforms. We have a special interview coming up. We have a big conference coming up next week, the Maternal Health Conference next week, but we're going to take a quick break. We'll be back here in 2 minutes. We'll be back here. I say this line so much, Carlene.
I know. I mean, it kind of runs together, and then, you know,
It's only Tuesday.
Your brain's a little fuzzy. It's all right.
We'll be back here in 2 minutes here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Welcome back here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Nick Serterman. We have a special guest. Our next guest is the CEO of a nonprofit that provides health services for the uninsured, underinsured, and for those lacking, affordable, high-quality preventative health care, serving thousands of folks, good folks here in Mecklenburg County. The two areas of focus: access to care and maternal child health. Welcome. First-time guest here on Live Impact News, Shanavia Montgomery, CEO of CareRing.
Yes.
How are you doing?
I'm well. First time and hopefully not the last.
Hopefully not the last. I feel like we had a whole interview before the interview.
We did. Good food, travel, Carolina, Alabama.
Alabama, Mobile. No, I said Mobile. No, did I get it right? Mobile. Okay.
Well, Pritchard, if you're being specific.
How far is Pritchard from Mobile?
It's right. This is like we were saying Matthews to Charlotte, so a little suburb.
Now I got to ask. I've never been to Alabama. I worked in Georgia. I worked in Atlanta, so I got close to Alabama.
Yes.
What was that like growing up?
So it is the South. It's the home of Mardi Gras. It's important that people know that Mobile is the home of Mardi Gras, not New Orleans.
I didn't know that.
Yes. Good food, good people.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And you've been in North Carolina for a while, Eastern North Carolina.
Since '92, yes.
92,
yes.
Eastern North Carolina.
Carolina's home, yeah.
And you told me, well, was it white sweet potato?
Yeah, we were talking about white sweet potatoes as you're going to the more southern part of the state. You can get white sweet potatoes. You can start to get a few other items that you might not be able to pick up here in Charlotte.
Because I was like, white sweet. I didn't even know how to. My brain just couldn't even. Okay, all right. And you said bake it.
Bake it. Yeah, bake it. Poke a few holes in it, wrap it in some foil, throw it in the oven. No butter.
A
little bit of sugar.
A little bit of sugar.
It's a sweeter potato.
Because I love.
I'm
brown
not going
sugar.
to judge how you dress.
Okay, all right, okay. We'll leave it at that. Again, CEO of CareRing.
Yes.
Talk about the work you guys do.
Yes, so we have been around since 1955. We were founded by a community health nurse, Maribel, who did not look like me, but who started door knocking in the historic West End of Charlotte. She wanted to help individuals who were experiencing disparities, especially with heart conditions in that decade, and help to close those gaps. We've been around since that time, have grown to serve about 10,000 people a year in Mecklenburg County who are either uninsured or underserved in some capacity. We have a wide range of services along our continuum, from a donations-based primary care clinic, so lots of hypertension and diabetes management. We have a large donated care program called Physicians Reach Out that's in its 20th year, where we receive about $70 million in donated care from our 2 local hospital systems and a large number of other private practices. We have 2 thriving maternal child health programs that are enrolling pregnant women and working with the child until age 2. And in our new location that we relocated to last year, we have a full-service food pantry in partnership with Nourish Up and the American Heart Association.
So y'all do a lot.
We do. We are deepening the work that we do. We are broadening our footprint, and we've been very fortunate to be able to experience this new evolution of care.
What's the biggest need right now? I mean, I feel like there are a lot of big needs,
Absolutely.
but I mean, what's top of the list right now?
Access to care. We don't always understand how broad that term is. Access could be transportation. Can I get to my doctor's appointment? It could be, is there cultural competency when I arrive to that appointment? It could be, do they have all of the different levels of care that I need when I arrive? It's a number of things, but that is a challenge that we are trying to help our patients and the community navigate, is how we help individuals get from point A to point B with greater ease.
I think a lot of folks, I used to hear, and I still hear it now, it's not going to the doctor, finding out what you have or what's plaguing you. It's paying for it. It's not having the insurance, right? That's the boogeyman right there.
Absolutely. And it's also those social determinants of health. We've learned that 80% of someone's health has nothing to do with their physical or genetic code. It's things like transportation and housing, and do I have green space, my environment that I'm in? Do I have housing instability? It's all of those other things that further complicate the care that someone is getting. If my doctor tells me that I have diabetes and I need to eat better, but I have no access to healthy foods or a way to get them, it's going to be kind of hard for me to manage that.
What's your biggest challenge? What keeps you up at night?
Oh, a number of things. I actually sleep really well at night because we are doing the Lord's work. So we are really helping to solve problems that have existed for a very long time and helping to close those gaps, one of which being the infant mortality rate in Mecklenburg County and maternal morbidity. It's really, really good work that we're doing. But of course, right now, there's a lot of uncertainty in the nonprofit environment, and we're navigating that as best we can, and we're really fortunate to have the support that we have.
Is it really, and I've talked to folks off the record, as far as the inner workings of nonprofits, is it really like a month by month sort of situation you guys go through?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's, I think I would love, a question was asked of me the other day, what do nonprofit leaders want their boards and community partners to understand? And it is the complexity of our financial arrangements. We do work month to month. We don't always have sustainable funds or revenue stream that's repeatable or renewable each month. We really are navigating a lot of change today and have to be creative in how we do our work. But the people we're serving have to be creative every single day in how they're navigating their lives. So we're just really walking along the path that they walk each day alongside them.
Like if they're going through the fight, we're essentially the mindset is we're going to continue to fight as well.
Absolutely. And we want the rest of the community, the corporate community, the other nonprofit partners, I say grassroots to grass tops, right? The foundations, individuals we'll take $5 that you have, or we'll take 500, 5,000, right? Every dollar matters because you're investing in the care of someone in need in our community. And we have community challenges. We don't have an individual person challenge.
They'll take $50,000, $500,000. I just $5 million. I just want to go on. I just want to don't limit yourself now.
No, and people do want to be philanthropic. They want to serve. They want to find ways to help and to give back. And our goal is just to try to connect them, that passion with our purpose and the work we do, and try to have some results.
You mentioned West Charlotte coming up next week. The Maternal Health Conference at Friendship Missionary Baptist Church.
Yes.
A legendary church.
It's my
there.
church.
It's your church.
It's
okay.
my church.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
On Beatty's Ford Road.
Yes.
They do incredible work there.
They do.
Talk about how this kind of came together, and I tried to get a quick summary of what's happening, but it's a lot happening.
Yes.
And I'm like, I'm not even going to I'm gonna let you take that away, but a lot happening in a good way. Explain to us what this conference is.
Well, you are welcome to join us. We'll have a little bit of everyone there. Our goal, it's National Maternal Health Month is April. So we try to host a conference each month that is focused on gathering birthing and health professionals and families in the community and centering them around education and networking opportunities that are going to help improve birth outcomes for individuals in our community and reduce instances of infant and maternal mortality. We believe that in gathering collectively, we get a sense of the work that needs to be done to help us row in the same direction, and we can see positive results like we've seen in the last year with the recently released infant mortality report.
What was your biggest takeaway? Because I know we did some reporting around that report. Your biggest takeaway from that, seeing that report?
Is that we are improving. I think we are on a 10-year low for infant mortality in Mecklenburg County. Care rings programs have always been robust, but we experienced a boom about 4 years ago. So we believe that the work that we're doing, especially around home visitation, in collaboration with our partners, is helping to ensure that moms are healthy during the gestational period, and that once they have their babies, they're able to focus in on some of those early childhood education elements that we know are critical to baby being ready for kindergarten and ready to thrive. So we are absolutely doing the work and really proud, and this conference will join about 400 plus individuals around the country. It's not just Mecklenburg County. We went virtual last year, so we're going to do that again, but it is really having collective impact and action around this very important topic.
What are you looking forward to as far as the conference? I know you got a lot of work building up to it.
Yes.
I know the day of,
Yes.
you'll be doing a lot of work, but what are you looking forward to the most?
So I'm grateful for the support we get. The conference is presented by Novant Health and in partnership with Atrium Health, Mecklenburg County, and a host of other grassroots to grass top partners, and I get excited about the fellowship that happens. People seeing one another every year. It's become sort of a family reunion. We eat good. That's really important. We have really critical topics that we discuss. We have a fatherhood initiative. We talk about eating healthy. We talk about heart health. We know that hypertension and other heart-related conditions are the #1 reason for maternal morbidity, and also access to care. How do we help our families navigate a very complicated health system so that they can get the services they need? And then just hearing inspirational stories, hearing people talk about their journeys and their challenges towards being where they are today, where they're able to now help uplift others that are doing the work.
I asked you. I know you say you get great sleep. What keeps you up at night? What keeps you going?
The people, the work that we're doing. I was a very young mom, became a mom at 15, and I was fortunate enough to be enrolled in a program very similar to the programs that we have in our community. And it was the sisterhood, it was the education, it was the reassurance, and just the empowerment I felt through those programs that helped me to be where I am today. So I get great sleep in knowing that I'm helping to grow a program or a number of programs that are hopefully going to have the same impact. And when I say impact, I mean it, because we are seeing those numbers start to decrease. We have still very deep disparities that we need to address, especially with Black women and Black babies who are 3 times more likely to die in the first year of life. We have work to do, but to see that overall we are improving in this effort tells me that we're doing something right and we're going in the right direction.
You guys do incredible work.
Thank you.
A lot of that is because you're getting great sleep. I'm working on my sleep.
I mean, I could use a few more hours, but I'm energized. I love my job, very passionate. I have a great team, and just the enthusiasm for what we do, we feel is contagious in this community, and we want to keep that going.
One last question before I let you go. For folks who attend,
Yes.
what's one thing? I know you said a lot of great things, but what's one thing you want those folks to take away next week?
Well, we've intentionally kept our costs low. So we have a few in-person slots that are left, but encourage people that want to have the virtual experience to join us. I think we're starting at $35 because we want it to be accessible. The information that we have is information that anyone can take back to their families, to their places of work or worship, or groups that they're within. We need for women to be healthy. We have local policies like our prenatal to 3 strategic plan that's serving as a roadmap for maternal health and how we're going to navigate in the future. And then we have national policies like Congresswoman Adams' Momnibus Act, set of 14 bills that are intentionally going to help us drive workforce improvements in maternal health and making sure that women have access to care before, during, and after pregnancy. But it's information that we all can use. It's not just dedicated to birthing professionals or healthcare workers. All of us can do better about making sure that mom and baby and the village that's surrounding is healthy, happy, and thriving.
Oh man, I'm looking forward to the conference. I
don't have any white sweet potatoes, but you are welcome to come by.
See, that was my next question. That was my next question.
Gotta do a callback.
Now I got to reconsider.
That's your job. Yes.
But great work,
Thank
Care Ring is doing. Shanavia Montgomery here, CEO. A really important organization here in Mecklenburg County, Care Ring. Again, 2026 Maternal Health Conference, April 9th at Friendship Missionary Baptist Church. Thank you for stopping by.
Thank you.
And next time, you swipe white sweet potatoes?
We'll see.
You're going to, okay, all right, okay. I'll bring the fried deer nuggets.
Okay, we got a meal. We're building a meal. I see it.
Thank you for stopping by.
Thank you.
Let's take a quick break. We'll be back here in just 2 minutes here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. All right, welcome back here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Nick Sturdivant. We want to get a check on our forecast. Here's meteorologist Majestic Storm.
Well, good Tuesday afternoon to you. I'm WCNC meteorologist Majestic Storm, and it is going to be another nice day today across the Carolinas. We're calling for partly sunny skies today, but truthfully, the big weather story, it's all about the warmth. The daytime highs today, we're back into the 80s. We get even warmer as we look towards Wednesday and Thursday. Warmer, and you'll even notice a little humidity out there, a little bit of moisture in the air over the next several days. With that being said, scattered showers are ahead, and even the potential of few isolated thunderstorms. Let's start with the temperatures, though, because yesterday it was still a gorgeous day, and our temperatures, they were really quite comfortable. 73 degrees is where we topped off at, and today we're turning up the heat with those low 80s returning. You'll see throughout the rest of the day today calling for a good mix of sun and clouds, and those temperatures, they are going to be warm with only a small chance for a random stray shower. Now, really, the pollen, how are your allergies? That's the big question. It's not looking good. Our pollen levels are still very high today and getting even higher as we're heading through Thursday. You can see there. So those who suffer from allergies, I know it's been tough. And unfortunately, as we're wrapping up the month of March and heading to April, we're still not done with it. It'll be a little bit breezy at times with some of those winds gusting in from the west and the south, and some of those winds gusting up to around 20 to 25 miles an hour. And overall today, our highs are above where we should be for just about everyone. 71 degrees there in Boone, 81 in Lincolnton, much of the same as we're looking down across Rock Hill. Overnight lows tonight, again, very comfortable with a mix of upper 50s and low 60s. So waking up tomorrow morning, we'll be heading into the low 60s. So we're not cooling down a whole lot, really setting the tone for another warm day for our Wednesday with high temperatures topping off around 84 degrees. We'll hold on to those 80s through Thursday. By Friday, we do see those temperatures drop a bit. Another warm one on Saturday, and then by Easter Sunday, mid-70s there, and then next week, more seasonal conditions into the 60s. Now, we're going to be watching several rain chances over the next several days, and a little more humidity out there, which means there'll be more moisture in the air. This is all good news because remember, we are still under that burn ban until further notice. This is for the entire state of North Carolina here. You'll notice a little bit more humidity, especially on Friday, and with that being said, that's going to be our next best opportunity to actually receive some more rain. Really, we're focusing on Friday and then again, unfortunately, on Easter Sunday. There's our surface map. You can see it's quiet today. We'll enjoy a little sunshine and warm weather while we have it, but really we're watching this next system push through, especially as we're heading towards Sunday. That seems like it'll bring us the next best opportunity for more of that rain, especially in the afternoon and evening. So plan accordingly if you have any Easter morning plans. Anywhere from about 1/4 of an inch to 1/2 of an inch is what our models are picking up on, but generally, now that we're going to be heading into April, seems like our weather pattern could switch a little bit more into a wetter weather pattern, which we need. We've been talking about how dry it's going to get and how dry it's actually been. 81 degrees on Saturday, and then on Sunday, 75 degrees with those passing rain showers. So keep that in mind. Jerry Hunt Supercenter 7-day forecast looks like this. We have 3 days in a row of low to mid 80-degree temperatures. Nice mix of sun and clouds. We're staying really dry until Friday. We'll mainly dry things out by Saturday, and then Sunday, make sure you stay close to our weather team. We'll keep you up to date with the very latest forecast. Have a great day.
All right, that is our full forecast. Let's take a quick break. We'll be back here in just 2 minutes here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Welcome back here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Nick Sturdivant. We played a little bit of this earlier, but we want to take you back there now. Sheriff Gary McFadden stopped by the Live Impact News studio this morning, spoke one-on-one with Jay Monreal. Let's take you back to that conversation.
Please don't smoke marijuana as much as you have in the past, and we will hire you, but we are going well. Fortunately and unfortunately for some people, we are now receiving applicants from other sheriff's offices or detention centers. We had some people who left and went to work somewhere else, but now they are coming back, and so that's a good sign. So we are doing great. By the end of May, we will probably have 44 more detention officers ready to come and work for the detention center. So we are halfway of our vacancies. So I'm challenging my staff to say, if we can come halfway in May, why can't we complete it by the end of the year? So 6 months, we definitely can hire 80 more people.
Wow. Yeah, that is part of the challenge with everything is the staffing shortage.
The staffing shortage comes, we have the applicants, but the problem is that being untruthful, forgetting about your criminal past, and the simple drug use of marijuana. We have the applicants, and we have the people coming forward, but the problem is drug use, truthfulness, and criminal history. If we can alleviate some of those, we will be fine.
All right. And you are also wanting to work together with the courts to try to remedy some of the challenges at the detention center.
Well, like we said, for the first, that's why I'm excited, for the next 30 days, the courthouse will see a difference. They will see a difference tomorrow. We are putting armed detention officers inside the courthouse. So we're removing some people from different locations, and we're going to put them inside the courthouse. So our courthouse security and staffing will be better. Believe it or not, by the end of next month of April, we should be fully staffed on the field, commonly as the road. By the end of the month, end of April, we should be fully staffed at the courthouse. So this is why I'm excited. No matter what the rhetoric is, we know what we're doing, but staffing levels will be better this summer, and they are increasing.
I mean, that's really very encouraging news. I'm sure a lot of people are going to be glad to hear that. And then as far as the juvenile detention center or Jail North, what is the latest on that?
We are working diligently hard. What we found out that too many people were involved. Too many people were at the table. Too many people wanted it, but they did not bring funding. Everybody wants us to have a juvenile detention center, but funding is the issue. Staffing is the issue. And so we have a lot of people talking about what they want, but they cannot bring any funding to the table. So simply myself and some others are working, as others are working behind the scenes, we are working behind the scenes, and I will tell you, I feel good about where we are going because we remove a lot of people from the table, and we are now working much better. Let me say that. We're working much better.
All right.
So, as I said, a lot of will be coming in the next 30 days, and we are good for the next 90 days.
All right. Again, very positive outlooks coming our way. Want to change gears a little bit because this past weekend, obviously, with No Kings happening around the country, and I think we had 17 protests in the Charlotte metro area and our surrounding counties. Mecklenburg County, part of it, of course. And what does the sheriff's office do when it comes to big events like this?
Well, we monitor it just like everyone else. We monitor the parks, we monitor the flow of traffic, we monitor the marches downtown. We work closely with CMPD, and if they need any additional help in areas, we would definitely supply them. But we really don't have a lot to be involved with that. We support freedom of speech, and we support peaceful protest because that's your right. And so that's probably all that we do at this point. We don't get deeply involved with it, but we support people speaking peacefully, and then we have to support safety. But we think that this is going to continue because of the way we are in America now. There's a lot of issues that need to be addressed, and of course, they will be addressed by people who believe that their voice have not been heard.
All right. Very good. And then still no word on any ICE operations happening or Border Patrol that is going to come into Mecklenburg County?
No, we have not heard anything from Border Patrol. As we said always, ICE still operates here in Mecklenburg County. We had an agreement, love to talk about it. October 17th, we came to an agreement. That agreement is still being agreed upon by both parties, myself and ICE. And so it's not perfect, but we are working better than we ever worked before in the last 7 years. So I'm happy at the way that we are working together with phone calls, with communication, with cooperation, and with collaboration. And I'm always going to say that and give them credit for coming to the table and say, we're going to work together. Is it going to be perfect? Because everybody's going to look at this under a microscope. We're not perfect, and it's not always going to be perfect, but it is much better than it has ever been in the last 7 or 8 years that I've been in office. And so we're still looking to always have our ear to the ground if something goes on, and I am confident that if they do come back, we will get a heads up. I'm confident in that.
All right. Sheriff McFadden, thank you for coming in as always, being straight with us and all the real talk. So appreciate your time this morning as we visit with you here since the announcement of Chief Deputy Ricky Robbins. More to come.
We're happy, Ricky. I'm excited, and I think that people will see the excitement when they see us in the community together.
Very good.
If he allows me to come in the community together, because he'll probably take over.
Okay. We'll see both of you together at some point, I'm sure.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Sheriff.
All right, let's take a quick break. We'll be back here in just 2 minutes here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Welcome back here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Nick Sertivant. So earlier today, we heard from the South Carolina Democratic Party. We heard from leaders from the South Carolina Democratic Party as they talked about what they're calling record-setting candidate recruitment and what it means for the state. Let's take a listen in case you missed it.
Are you ready? Oh, wow. Good morning, everybody. Excuse me, I'm getting over being hoarse. But good morning. I'm Crystal Spain, the chair of the South Carolina Democratic Party, and today is a big day for South Carolina Democrats. For the first time in recent history, maybe in over 50 years, we have 124 Democratic candidates for all 124 State House seats. Let me say that again. For the first time in recent history, maybe in over 50 years, we have 124 Democratic candidates for all 124 State House seats. Every district, every voter, every fight. No more empty seats on the ballot, no more communities taken for granted, no more Republicans running unchecked for the South Carolina State House. And we didn't stop here. For the first time in a long time, we have Democratic candidates for every constitutional office. And we have Democratic candidates stepping up to run in every congressional district. That's not just a milestone, that's a message. A message that Democrats in South Carolina are no longer sitting on the sidelines. We are competing everywhere. Now, before I go any further, let me be clear about something. This didn't happen by accident. This historic recruitment effort was powered by an intensive outreach campaign launched in 2025 through our Project Roadmap initiative, focused on strengthening county-level organizing infrastructure. It also reflects more than a decade of intentional leadership development through our James Clyburn Fellowship Program, which for 11 years has trained and prepared a new generation of leaders to step up and run for office and serve in their communities. And I want to take a second to thank all of our recruitment committee members and co-chairs. And I want to give a special thanks to our committee chair, Jamie Harrison, for his vision and unwavering commitment to helping us build a party that competes everywhere. Thank you, Jamie. I also want to give a special thanks to two co-chairs, Ralph Pralo and Moses Pyatt, for their relentless recruitment efforts, making calls, having conversations, and pushing us to close every gap on this map. And I want to recognize our biggest partners in this effort, the Democratic House Caucus, for understanding that building power starts with showing up in every single district. This was a team effort, and today that work shows. And let's talk about what this actually means, because numbers are nice, but impact is better. This means that in November, voters across South Carolina will have a real choice. Not a default, not a rubber stamp, but a choice. It means we're forcing accountability in every corner of the state, from the smallest rural district to the biggest cities. It means Republicans will have to answer for decades of failed leadership. Because here's the part they don't want to talk about. They've had the power, they've had the majorities, they've had the trifecta, and yet people are still struggling to afford to live here. Our schools are still underfunded. Healthcare is still out of reach for too many families. You don't get to run the state for decades and then pretend these problems belong to someone else. This November, we're making sure that they have to answer for their failed leadership everywhere. But let's just be clear about what this means for our side. Filing every single seat on the ballot doesn't just strengthen our legislative races, it strengthens the entire ticket. When we run everywhere, we organize everywhere. When we organize everywhere, we turn out voters everywhere. And it strengthens our entire Democratic ticket from top to bottom. We are building a bench. We are building infrastructure. We are building a party that shows up in every zip code, every county, and every community. Because winning isn't just about one cycle, it's about changing what's possible. And when we compete everywhere, you start winning in places people didn't know you could win. So to every candidate who filed, especially those stepping up in tough districts, you are what courage looks like. You are what leadership looks like. And make no mistake, this party is standing with you. And to the voters of South Carolina, if you've ever felt overlooked, if you've ever felt like your vote didn't matter, if you've ever felt like nobody was speaking for you, this year, that changes.
Yes.
We are not shrinking our map. We are not lowering our expectations. And we are expanding this party. And in November, we are ready to compete district by district, race by race, vote by vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and good morning, everybody. Today is indeed a historic moment for South Carolina and the South Carolina Democratic Party. For the first time in 32 years, we have a Democrat running for every statewide office. And we believe that this may be the first time since 1975, when the legislature moved to 124 single-member districts, that Democrats are contesting every single legislative seat. Think about that, folks. That means for the first time in a generation, I'm 50 years old, for the first time in my lifetime, that every South Carolinian will have a choice on the ballot. And as our Madam Chair said, this didn't happen by accident. It happened because of leadership and discipline and a whole lot of work, a lot of hard work. I want to recognize the visionary in South Carolina Democratic Party Chair Crystal Spain. Crystal is a historic chair, the first black woman to ever chair either the South Carolina Democratic or Republican Party. And what happens with historic chairs? They have historic moments. This is one of those historic moments. I want to recognize Executive Director Jay Parmley and the incredible team that made this possible. We had co-chairs, Trav Robertson and Jaleesa Washington Price, who co-chaired our statewide and federal subcommittee. Ralph Prelo and Moses Pyatt, who worked along with the House Dem Caucus, Nick Sotile and Roger Kirby on our House efforts, and so many other organizations and people who rolled up their sleeves and got it done. I also want to recognize, again, the South Carolina House Democratic Caucus, whose partnership and commitment to building in every district helped make this moment possible. They didn't just support this effort, they leaned in and they helped to drive it. Let me be clear. Candidate recruitment is the hardest job in politics. You are asking people to step forward to put their name, their family, and their future on the line. And this team met that challenge head on. It was this time last year that Chair Spain and I sat down and started talking about one simple goal: finding somebody to run for governor and building out a full statewide slate. And then, a few weeks later, that goal grew. We said, well, let's see if we can find somebody in every congressional race. Then we said, well, let's go further. Let's compete in the State House. And today we are standing here having done something historic. I am so damn proud of this team. Because I'll be honest, back in January, I knew we were going to recruit a lot of strong candidates, Madam Chair, but even I had doubts that we could get 124. But this team didn't doubt. They worked, they pushed, they believed. And because of that, the people of South Carolina now have something that they haven't had in a long time: a real choice. And that matters. Because one-party rule has consequences. It leads to missed opportunities, unaccountable leadership, and a government that stops listening. But today, we take the first step towards changing that. This is how you break a supermajority. This is how you build a path back to competitiveness. And this is how you win. When I stepped down as ZNC chair, folks asked me what was I going to do next. I told them I was going back home to get into some good trouble. Well, this is what good trouble looks like. And let me tell you something, we are just getting started. So the people of South Carolina, buckle up, because help is on the way. Amen. The one thing they say that we're going to have this big blue wave, but this is what I know about waves, folks. Wave ain't good if you don't have somebody to ride it. Yeah. And now we have 124 folks all over the state to ride this wave. And now I saw that we have the leader of the Democrats in the State House, Representative Todd Rutherford.
All right. Thank you so much, Jamie. And what a pleasure it is to stand here on this day as we have proven that Democrats around this state are not dead. The Democrats around this state have something to say, and we're going to say it. The Democrats around this state are tired of what Republicans have done. Every year we listen to Republicans complain about government, and every year we recognize that they are in fact the problem. This has been a one-party state for the last 20 years, and all they've done is try to destroy it as best they can. We are tired of it. Our candidates are tired of it. That is why they signed up, and that is why, ladies and gentlemen, they plan to win. Thank you so much for being here today.
Now we hear from Reba Cruz, Pickens County Chair.
Good morning. This is a historic moment for Pickens County. We have lived for decades under our failed Republican leadership, the policies. People are suffering. And this year, they answered the call. And I am so proud that our citizens decided to step up and to invest in each other and the entire state. We're going to send Democrats to the State House. I am a proud Clyburn Fellow. This is an amazing opportunity for our county, and this took years of hard, dedicated organizing and leadership to make this happen. I am most proud of our candidates who chose to step up and to serve in this moment. This is a defining moment for Pickens County and also for the great state of South Carolina. And now we've got some candidates here that would like to address.
Good morning. My name is Jessica Beasley, and I will be running for State House District 11. I am running because I am just an average citizen just like everybody else. I make it from paycheck to paycheck, week to week. I have a family of 5, so I know how it is to struggle every week, especially with this failed government that we have. You know, right now our state minimum wage is $7.25. With the way that things are and the cost of everything, an average person that's making $20 an hour, after all of their expenses, are basically making minimum wage. So with that, that is the reason why I am running. Thank you.
We'll take any questions y'all may have for us.
What did you do with county party chairs to, recruit more candidates? Like, what did you, on the state level, do to get them more involved?
So since I became chair, we started really working to train up our chairs and helping them identify on a very basic level what level of chair they were, right? Are they a caretaker? Are they an organizer? Are they organizing to flip their county? Are they a blue county? And so we met every chair where they were, and we gave them directives, like, here's what you need to be focusing on now. Like, now we need to be trying to find candidates. And it was easier for some chairs than other chairs, but really just making sure they had the support they needed in order to accomplish the goals that we were putting in front of them.
Are you hoping that more participation will expand, the number of Democrats in the House this year?
Absolutely. I think we only need six Democrats to break the supermajority in the State House, and we're going to work really hard to make sure that we do that.
Do you have a goal or a plan to get there?
A plan, yes. This is phase 1, run people everywhere. Phase 2 is to support our candidates and make sure that we're organizing everywhere, and we got to raise money to do that. So fundraising is a big part of this effort.
So go to sedp.org and make your contribution today.
Thank you.
What are some of the districts that you're most optimistic about being able to flip, or that you're watching the most closely?
I think we're going to watch 64. We're going to watch 116. I don't know all the numbers right offhand, but there are some districts that we lost recently within the last, 4 to 6 years, that we're definitely, those are our seats, and we're coming to get them back.
What counties were those?
Clarendon, Sumter, Charleston, Hampton, Jasper, Greenwood, McCormick. I'm sure I'm blanking on some, but those are Abbeville.
Can you speak a little bit more about what breaking the GOP supermajority will mean and what doors this could possibly open?
You want to answer that, Pat? Well, you want to speak about what breaking the supermajority really means?
What it means is breaking the ineffective government that we currently have. Everyone can look around and they constantly complain about property taxes, and then you look at what happened this year and we didn't even address it. That is one of the biggest complaints that we always get. We talk about regulations on businesses. We have no fix. We continuously hear problems come up from constituents, and nobody's addressing those issues, and that is what this is going to break. And let me just add to it. The districts that she named are important, but all 124 districts are important, and we plan to be competitive this year. People are recognizing that there's a failed government in D.C., and it is filtering down to South Carolina, and it is failing here as well, and that's why they stepped up. That's why we're going to step up, and it's going to be a huge difference next year when we win.
Is there any difference between 2024 and 2026? Maybe is there a difference in this moment now compared to 2024?
The difference is palpable. You can feel it. You can see it. You saw the No Kings rally. You saw the rallies all around this country. The difference is what is happening in Washington, what is happening all around this world, in fact, that is being done by someone that thinks he's a king and those that allow him to feel that way, and people are sick of it. They recognize the federal government is wasting their taxpayer dollars now, sending soldiers to Iran for a war that we can't figure out why we're doing it, and not a single Republican is saying that it's wrong. They're sick of it. They want to make a difference, and this is the way that they do that, and you will see that difference not only in November but in January when we win these races.
Can I add something? I want the folks in South Carolina to understand this. Right now in this country, Republicans control the White House, the House, and the Senate. Here in South Carolina, Republicans control the governor's mansion, the House, and the Senate. All of the things that you are upset about, guess who controls those levers of government in order to have an impact? It's the Republican Party. Right now, people are going to fill up right across the street, filling up their gas tanks. Over $100 to fill up their gas tanks. Lindsey Graham is saying, well, I'm going back to South Carolina and I'm going to tell them to send their sons and daughters to Iran. Well, hell no, we're not sending our sons and daughters over to Iran. We are tired of this Republican control over this government. They want to dictate every single thing that we can do. The people need freedom. The people need choices, and that's what we're going to give them. And that means by having this whole slate filled, it is going to let us compete in spaces that we have not competed before. Lindsey Graham does not have Donald Trump on the top of the ticket to be thankful for, to bring in all of these Republican votes. He's going to have to fight for himself when he has some of the highest unfavorables he's ever had. He should be scared. Instead of being in Disney World, he should be at a church praying right now that he keeps his seat. He needs to come back and work for the folks in South Carolina, and that's what this is all about. This is step one. When we say that there's something different, the winds are blowing in South Carolina and they're blowing in a different way, that's because we have the types of leaders right now to make this happen, and we're going to run it across the state. All right, thank y'all so much.
Thank you.
All right, great job. Thank you.
Some interesting words there from the Democratic Party out in South Carolina. I'm Colin Mayfield taking over for Nick Sturdivant for the next hour or so. We're going to take a 2-minute break. We'll come back and reset ourselves right after this. All right, guys, welcome back. We are looking at today's headlines. We're going to start with today's Pentagon press briefing. As we know, the war in Iran continues. Marines are already stationed in that area near the Strait of Hormuz towards the southern, southwestern border of Iran, of course. So more to come from this briefing. Let's go to this right now and listen in.
Well, over the weekend, I had the opportunity to visit our troops fighting in Operation Epic Fury. We were on the ground in CENTCOM on Saturday for about half the day. For reasons of operational security, so those troops are not targeted, the places and bases will not be named. Suffice it to say, the trip was an honor. I had a chance to bear witness, and I witnessed the best of America. I witnessed warriors, a brotherhood of men and women warriors all, active duty, guard, and reserve, united in their love for each other, their shared purpose, and their commitment to the mission. I witnessed sheer competency. I watched a private first class confidently calling out an enemy missile trajectory to a room full of officers. Everyone focused. The room was locked in. 2 enemy missiles successfully shot down. I spoke to Air Force and Navy pilots on the flight line who every day both deliver bombs deep into Iran, but also shoot down drones defending their base. Many had just returned from the skies of Iran and Tehran. I put on a headset and spoke to one crew in the cockpit, locked and loaded, each and every day. I witnessed ingenuity, American ingenuity. I met the young Army officer who figured out how to neutralize maneuvering enemy missiles, saving countless lives. His commander confirmed that the whoops and cheers erupted in the Tactical Operations Center when his new approach was first successful. I met the Air Force intel analyst who refines target packages faster than the enemy can adapt. I actually gave him my card and told him to keep me posted on the ground truth. I did the same with his boss, a colonel with a heart the size of Texas and a beautiful deployment mustache to match. I witnessed lethality. I met a junior airman as the sun was going down and a chill was setting on the tarmac, who, when asked what they needed, she simply looked up at me with a sly smile on her face and said, "More bombs, sir, and bigger bombs. We will happily oblige her." I met the Army targeting team who found and sunk the pride and joy of the Iranian Navy, their fighting position plastered with images of sunken enemy ships. And I witnessed urgency. Right when we landed, another C-17 landed just minutes after us. And within 30 seconds of the aircraft coming to a full stop, a team on the ground pulled up and the cargo was being uploaded. Wartime speed. To a man and to a woman, on the ground, in the air, on the flight line, and in the TOC, I heard, "We want everything faster, higher op tempo, wartime speed." The feeling was the exact opposite of the rotational units year after year in the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan that we're so familiar with. In those wars, it was always about the next rotation, never knowing when the mission would end or exactly what the mission was, year after year. Not with Epic Fury. I witnessed urgency to finish the job, urgency to achieve mission success, not looking at the next rotation, only moving as fast as possible to win. I got a chance to troop the line, to witness firsthand what we already know is true. I spoke to all ranks and all services, none of whom knew we were coming. It was not rehearsed or scripted. Sometimes we just wandered. What I witnessed was motivation. It was sheer mission focus. It was the American warrior unleashed. It was the kind of warfighting American spirit that comes with a clear mission against a determined enemy. A crew chief we flew with summed it up nicely. He said, "It's been a busy few weeks, sir. Tough stuff. but I'm so honored to be called up. This fight is long overdue. We need to address it for our kids. We cannot pass the buck. Please thank the president from us. I heard that time and time again. I asked each young American, what do you need? And nobody said better equipment. Nobody said more comfortable living conditions. Nobody said send me home. Well, of course, eventually we want all those things. They do too. But what those Americans said to me, young and old, officer and NCO, male and female, black and white, was let's finish the mission. Get us even more bombs, bigger bombs, more targets. Let us finish this. In fact, Admiral Cooper noted this morning that the 3 Air Force captains shot down by Kuwaiti-friendly fire early in the fight, weeks ago. They never left the theater. All dropped bombs over Tehran last night. These men and women live the Iranian threat every day, incoming missiles and drones, and know what a world looks like, what the world would look like if Iran had the most dangerous weapons in the world, a nuclear weapon. As President Trump has said time and time again for years, and in this administration, Iran cannot have a nuclear bomb, and they won't. These troops, they want to finish this fight for their kids and their grandkids. This is about history. This is about legacy. Success matters. And because of this president and these Americans, we're closer than ever before to winning. President Trump is doing what no other president had the guts to do. Previous presidents were all talk. He's all action. On the battlefield, because of the latitude the president has given us, American firepower is only increasing. Iran's decreasing. We have more and more options, and they have less. Just 1 month in, only 1 month, we set the terms. The upcoming days will be decisive. Iran knows that, and there's almost nothing they can militarily do about it. Yes, they will still shoot some missiles, but we will shoot them down. Of note, the last 24 hours saw the lowest number of enemy missiles and drones fired by Iran. They will go underground, but we will find them. We recently destroyed another one of their command bunkers. Leaders forced to flee. No water, no power, no oxygen, no command and control. Their faith in their caves diminishing. The latest intel is clear out of CENTCOM. Our strikes are damaging the morale of the Iranian military, leading to widespread desertions, key personnel shortages, and causing frustrations amongst senior leaders. Just last night, we had 200 dynamic strikes alone. Dynamic strike is a strike where a pilot leaves and during their flight, they get a new target set based on real-time intel given to them. A new launcher, a new location, a new troop formation. A dynamic target is one that changes while you're in the air because of improved intelligence. 200 dynamic strikes alone, in addition to the pre-planned targets. The video the president posted last night of Esfahan, an ammo depot struck by U.S. bombers. You see, you don't get to see many of those videos because, as a reminder, Iran has still shut off the internet to 99.9% of its population. But if Iran is wise, they will cut a deal. President Trump doesn't bluff and he does not back down. You can ask Khomeini about that. The new Iranian regime should know that by now. This new regime, because regime change has occurred, should be wiser than the last. President Trump will make a deal he is willing. And the terms of the deal are known to them. If Iran is not willing, then the United States War Department will continue with even more intensity. Standing here this morning in this briefing room, in my mind's eye, I'm actually looking out at the groups I met this weekend. The pilots, the logisticians, the intel analysts, the targeters, the sustainers, the flight crews, the air defenders, the base security, those maintainers who we walked up at sunset with the chill in the air on the flight line. May God watch over all of them each day and each night May his almighty and eternal arms of providence stretch over them and protect them and bring them peace. In the name of Jesus Christ. And amen. Mr. Chairman, over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary, and good morning, everyone, and thank you again.
All right, folks, going to take another 2-minute break here. We'll be back, as I said, in just 2 minutes. Welcome back, everyone. We're going to go back to the Pentagon press conference updating us on the Iran war right now. The chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff is speaking. Let's go to this right now.
As operations continue, I remain deeply grateful for the service and determination of 2.8 million members of our joint force, each of whom are serving something greater than themselves. Every day, those deployed, and in many cases, those at home who are deploying forward, and bomber pulses and others put themselves in harm's way, and we owe them a deep debt of gratitude. I remain especially grateful for our fallen who gave the ultimate sacrifice. We'll never forget their valor and their determination to do something greater than themselves. And each day we continue to earn what they've given to us. This morning I want to share that yesterday the Joint Force had the honor of participating in the burial of Colonel Clarence Emil Bud Anderson, who passed away in May of 2024 at the ripe old age of 102. He was laid to rest in Arlington Cemetery yesterday morning alongside his wife of 70 years, Eleanor, who he married on February 23rd, 1945. She passed away in 2015 at the age of 92. Bud, yesterday, a legend to our Air Force and fighter pilots everywhere, was honored with a combination flyby of F-35s and a four-ship of P-51 Mustangs. He was one of the most prolific flying aces of World War II and the highest-scoring P-51 ace with 16 and a quarter kills in his squadron and in his group, and he served from 1942 to 1972, and his last combat tour was flying F-104 Thunder Chiefs over North Vietnam. For anyone that had the chance to meet Colonel Anderson, you knew what an incredibly special man he was. And that's true for each and every one of our World War II vets who become fewer and fewer with each passing day. They are the greatest generation and give us the gift of an incredible example as we execute Operation Epic Fury today. And Colonel Anderson, we mourn for your loss and remember that smile on the right side as you went out to do our nation's business. I'd like to now share an operational update. Our Joint Force continues to focus on our military objectives as we systematically continue to degrade and destroy Iran's ability to project power and threaten stability beyond its borders. First, the Joint Force continues to destroy Iran's ballistic missile and UAS capabilities. We remain focused on interdicting and destroying the logistical and supply chains that feed these programs, and this remains a truly joint effort prosecuted around the clock from air, land, sea, space, and cyberspace. Long-range bombers from U.S. Strategic Command are coordinating with tactical fighter aircraft from our Joint Force launched from bases around the region and the continental United States, while simultaneously Navy fighters from the sea and sailors continue to project power from the sea, while Army and Marine artillery units continue to execute long-range precision fires deep into enemy territory against high-value targets. Meanwhile, on the defense side, our Army and air defenders and aviators, as the Secretary talked about, remain vigilant, forming a shield to protect our forces and our partners, intercepting missiles and drones. Together, we continue to deliver precision strikes against key manufacturing nodes, component storage sites, research facilities deep within Iranian territory. And over the past 30 days, we've struck more than 11,000 targets. Given the increase in air superiority, we've successfully started to conduct the first overland B-52 missions, which allow us, as we've said before, to continue to get on top of the enemy and, as the Secretary talked about, switch towards more and more dynamic targets, servicing mobile targets around the battle space. We've continued to do the work against Iran's missile, drone, and naval production facilities, and we continue the multi-domain pressure that we've talked about. Second, on the Navy front, we continue to assert dominance over the Iranian Navy. We remain focused on targeting their mine-laying capability, their naval assets, and we've now, as I mentioned briefly last time, started to work attack helicopters and other close air support assets into the naval domain. CENTCOM continues to identify and work against naval depots and storage areas, and we've taken out, again, more than 150 ships, including all Jamaran-class frigates inside their Navy. Third, we continue to prosecute our campaign against our defense industrial base at scale. This includes factories, warehouses, nuclear weapons research and development labs, and the associated infrastructure required for Iran to reconstitute its combat capability. I'd like to continue my theme of highlighting the incredible contributions of Americans to our joint force. Today, I want to talk a little bit about a different front line, a line that doesn't have bunkers or guard posts, but is just as critical to our nation's security, our National Assembly lines. Today, I want to recognize a group of Americans who live at the beginning of our nation's combat power, the Americans who actually make our weapons, both inside our defense industrial base, but even more broadly inside our national industrial base. In every military option, we could not and cannot do our jobs without the men and women across our country who show up every day around the clock to a factory floor, a workshop, a laboratory, who build the weapons and capabilities we need to project American combat power at the time and place of our choosing. These great Americans, and I've had a chance to spend some time with them when I was in the private sector, are the core of American combat power. They're the machinists running high-tech CNC machines, cutting raw blocks of metal into incredibly precise parts. They're the assembly workers painstakingly taking a kit of parts and turning that into a complex guidance system or precision munition or a rocket motor or building a jet or submarine. Or they're quality assurance technicians who ensure that when a warfighter pulls a trigger, the weapon works every time. This can be and is tough and gritty work. It's not a quiet office and a desk with paper, and there's nothing wrong with that, but this is exactly the way this group of Americans likes it. I know this. I've seen it myself, and I remain deeply honored by that gift. It's often loud and dangerous work, demanding, requires absolute focus for hours at a time with deep commitment to get it right every single time. It's hands-on work where one uncaught mistake or deviation can put an American's life at risk. A single misplaced wire, a microscopic flaw in a weld, incorrectly calibrated sensor could mean the difference between mission success or mission failure. The difference is measured in the lives of our sons and daughters who we put out around the field and on the field of battle. We rely on and trust in these great Americans, and it's not just their manufacturing skill, it's their innovative minds and their entrepreneurial spirit. From those who build exquisite capabilities down to the mom and pop machine shops all over this great country, they live at the beginning of and the core of America's combat capability, constantly adapting, constantly improving, constantly learning. And there are examples of this throughout history and current days, to include building things like the F-117 stealth fighter, the B-2 stealth bomber, making our combat capability undetectable over the enemy, to today's B-21 and F-47. It's work like in the shipyards of the East Coast and Northeast side of the United States that go out and build America's nuclear submarines that allow us to patrol around the world at the time and place of our choosing. These innovators, these workers, these incredible Americans don't get the same glory as a fighter pilot returning to a carrier deck at night or an artilleryman sending rounds downrange, and yet they show up every single day, and without them, we could not do the work that we are tasked to do. 24/7, they build the tools that we need to do our business. The skill, the commitment, the patriotism, the dedication poured into every piece of combat capability and hardware is seen and felt out at the edge of the force, as the Secretary talked about those young bomb builders out in the desert that he had the chance to see. You can see it, you can feel it, and it's real, and we're deeply grateful. So to the American workforce out there, both inside our defense industrial base and in our national industrial base, thank you on behalf of the Joint Force. We carry the weapons that you build, we rely on the systems that you create, and the distance from that factory floor and that assembly line to the front line is incredibly short. Thank you, keep it up. And to our adversaries out there, I remind you to beware of the American workforce. We continue to press forward in our military objectives. The Secretary and I remain deeply humbled by the spirit, tenacity, commitment, and grit of our 2.8 million member strong joint force. I want to, as always, thank the force and their families, and as always, remember our fallen. We carry with them and their names every day. Sir, I'll turn it back over to you.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Two things. He didn't note it, but in memory of Colonel Bud Anderson, the chairman himself flew his F-16 to honor him recently. And thank you for highlighting the Defense Industrial Base, the Arsenal of Freedom. It's worth noting no one has rebuilt that Defense Industrial Base faster and with more purpose than President Trump in his first term, and now we're rebuilding the Arsenal of Freedom. Our Defense Industrial Base is more vibrant today than it's been since World War II and growing rapidly. Contrast that with Iran, whose defense industrial base is nearly completely destroyed. Their ability to reconstitute the weapons of war they're using now that they're hiding in underground facilities and attriting over time, their ability to rebuild that is negligible. And I think that contrast is an enduring legacy of this as well, right here.
We've had some signaling that the U.S. will retake control of the Strait of Hormuz. At that point, what military posture will be imposed to guarantee safe passage for our allies, deter our enemies, and demonstrate U.S. dominance in the region? And also, can you speak to how much America's adversaries, Russia, China, North Korea, how much they're supporting Iran's war machine at this point with arms and intelligence, and what we are militarily doing to punish the enemy coalition?
Appreciate both questions. On the Strait of Hormuz, there are many more vessels flowing through today than there were, as the president has arranged. The president's been clear to Iran, open it for business, or we have options, and we certainly do. And when you look at what the chairman laid out with the Navy industrial base, with coastal cruise missiles, with UAVs, with counter-mine capabilities, we've been focused from the beginning on attriting and defeating those capabilities and limiting their options. There's lots we're doing as well, some of which is known, some of which is not known, to set the conditions. And I think the president was clear this morning in his truth that there are countries around the world who ought to be prepared to step up on this critical waterway as well. It's not just the United States Navy. Last time I checked, there was supposed to be a big bad Royal Navy that could be prepared to do things like that as well. So he's pointing out this is an international waterway that we use less than most, in fact, dramatically less than most. So the world ought pay attention to be prepared to stand up. President Trump's been willing to do the heavy lifting on behalf of the free world to address this threat of Iran. It's not just our problem set going forward, even though we have done the lion's share of preparation to ensure that strait will be open, which is an outcome the president's been very clear on. As far as Russia and China, we know exactly what they're doing, what they are or are not doing. We don't have to air publicly what all of that is, but where necessary, we're addressing it, we're mitigating it, or we're confronting it head on. I don't know if you have anything you want to add.
No, sir. I think you covered it.
Do you have any timeline for operability in the strait?
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. David Zier, Real America's Voice. And I witnessed that enthusiasm on the lines and our submarine builders and ironworks. It's unbelievable. But I just wanted to ask you, what's the status of the delivery of any hardened bunkers for additional protection for our troops? And without getting too specific, what kind of measures are we taking to protect some of the larger, more strategic aircraft like the Sentry and other?
Well, it's a great question. I'll say what I witnessed where I went was a completely locked-in discipline of bunker use and bunker improvement. So from the beginning, as we stated very clearly, the first thing we did was set up a defense and make sure our defensive capabilities were maxed out before any of this even started. That included fortifications as much as possible, but it also included disbursement. If all of our people are in one place, you could imagine why that's a big problem. So dispersing is part of that defeat. Alongside that disbursement is more and more bunkers. And I can tell you, talking to base commanders, talking to our allies in Israel, talking to others, rapidly fielding that and then improving those positions is a theater priority, no doubt, as are the air defenses and the layered air defenses. It's not just Patriots and THAADs, it's fighters and defensive caps, it's other kinetic defeat systems, it's electronic warfare. So the defense of our troops and our assets is max. I will say on some of those other assets you talked about, air wings, airframes, there's some things adversaries are doing to provide info and intel that they shouldn't. We're aware of it. And ultimately, we move things around and don't. One of the biggest principles you learn in the military is to not set patterns, predictable patterns. And so commanders are working hard to adjust in real time with those systems and make sure they're in the right places and not easily targetable. Jillian.
Thanks, Mr. Secretary.
All right, folks, we're going to take another 2-minute break, but we do have some breaking news real quickly. The AP just reporting that a judge orders the Trump administration to halt the construction of that $400 million White House ballroom unless Congress okays the plan. We'll have to see where this goes. I'm sure the Trump administration will try to appeal this. In fact, the president just spoke about this last week, saying that it was a glorified shed for what the military was building underneath. So that has not been verified, any of those claims just yet. But again, that's just what the president had said last week. Let's go to a 2-minute break. We'll come back with more news. Hey everyone, we are back. Real quick, going to hit this breaking news once again. The AP is reporting that a federal judge is asking the Trump administration to halt any construction of the $400 million White House ballroom. They need to get an okay from Congress before they go forward with this plan. So I'm sure again that there will be some sort of an appeal from the Trump administration to try and negate this or go around these orders. And as I said just 2 minutes ago, the president had talked about the military building something underneath this ballroom, that it was just a glorified shed. That's what the president had said. No one yet has verified any of that information just yet, so we'll wait to hear more. We are going to go back to the Pentagon and get more from them on this press conference right now.
What impact does that have on military strategy? Does it have any bearing at all? And General, the president wrote yesterday that the U.S. might destroy Iran's electricity generating plants and oil wells. Those are his words before ending this operation. Is there a way to do either of those things without seriously jeopardizing or seriously harming civilians?
So on the talks, I can tell you, having been with Steve and Jared and the Vice President and Marco and many others yesterday, they are very real. They are ongoing. They're active, and I think gaining strength. And we appreciate that. As I said in my remarks, we would much prefer to get a deal. If Iran was willing to relinquish material they have and ambitions they have, open this, great. That's the goal. We don't want to have to do more militarily than we have to. But I didn't mean it flippantly when I said, in the meantime, we'll negotiate with bombs. Our job is to ensure that we compel Iran to realize that this new regime, this regime in charge, is in a better place if they make that deal. And so we'll continue. We're working hand in hand, but the primary effort is a deal. We want that deal to be accomplished if at all possible. If not, then we're prepared to continue.
Secretary, what happened at South? Is that
Chairman.
Yeah. Thanks for the question. We're always thinking about those considerations and develop options to be able to mitigate those risks pursuant to the normal practices that we do in the military. So.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. I know you slightly addressed this already, but just on the Strait of Hormuz, is opening the strait an essential objective to Operation Epic Fury, or is that the job of those other countries? And then secondly, without asking you to comment on things that you can't talk about, what is your message to Americans who love the president and strongly believe in him, but are very worried about this notion of boots on the ground?
Well, first on the Strait of Hormuz, our core objectives from this podium, from day one, from me, from the chairman, from the president, from the vice president, from Secretary Rubio and others have been clear. Defense missile production and missile programs, so their entire missile program, defense industrial base and production ability to build, and Navy and power projection. So those have been, and then of course wrapping it all is Iran's never going to have a nuclear weapon. So those have been very clear. Defeating the Navy is a core part of ensuring they can't project that kind of power. But ultimately, I think the president's truth this morning lays that out very well, that this Strait of Hormuz issue, which we've set the conditions for success, and we will make sure Iran knows that very clearly, is not just a United States of America problem set. We've been willing to lead. President Trump's led the entire time, but it's not just us. So ultimately, I think other countries should pay attention when the president speaks. He's proven that when he speaks, he means something. And he's pointing out, you might want to start learning how to fight for yourself. It's something some of us have been saying for quite some time. You can't just have flags, you have to have formations. You can't just have a few ships, you have enough to affect change. Those things matter in a dangerous world with ascendant adversaries. That's why the chairman's talking about our industrial base. That's why we're launching the Arsenal of Freedom tour to revive our defense industrial base. President Trump doing it in a way that nobody else has. As far as President Trump and boots on the ground, I don't understand why the base, which they have already, they understand, wouldn't have faith in his ability to execute on this. Look at his track record of pursuing peace through strength, America first outcomes. What he's simply saying, and it's exactly true, and I've said from this podium too, we're not going to foreclose any option. You can't fight and win a war if you tell your adversary what you are willing to do or what you are not willing to do, to include boots on the ground. Our adversary right now thinks there are 15 different ways we could come at them with boots on the ground. And guess what? There are. And so if we needed to, we could execute those options on behalf of the President of the United States and this department. Or maybe we don't have to use them at all. Maybe negotiations work, or maybe there's a different approach. But the point is to be unpredictable in that. Certainly not let anybody know what you're willing to do or not do. But if anybody has internalized the lessons of Iraq and Afghanistan as the first one, President Trump, to call them out for what they are, he's not going to repeat those lessons. And I think I've been very clear about that from the podium. Yes.
Thank you, Secretary Hegseth. A question for you and then a question for General Kane. You said we're a month into the Operation Epic Fury. How long until the objectives are achieved? And is there a scenario where a deal is struck before the objectives have been achieved? And then for General Kane, there's been lots of media coverage that suggested a ground invasion is imminent. What other purposes might the soldiers and the Marines who have been deployed over to the Middle East serve in this conflict?
Well, just like the previous question, it's sort of military 101. Don't tell your enemy what you're willing to do or not do, and don't tell your enemy when you're willing to stop, especially an enemy that likes to hide in bunkers and try to hoard their missiles and hope you'll wait you out. So that's not a question I'm going to answer, or the president has said definitively. We have our own goals and guidance and things military objectives that we're moving toward and things that we look at. And as he's articulated, he's said 4 to 6 weeks, 6 to 8 weeks, 3. It could be any particular number, but we would never reveal precisely what it is, because our goal is to finish those objectives. And we're well on our way, and the chairman and I look at this every single day. It will be the president's determination and the president's determination alone when those objectives are complete and when it serves the interest of the American people to cut that deal, to make sure that Iran doesn't have a nuclear capability, and ultimately that our objectives, our interests are advanced. I don't know if you want to add anything.
No, just to answer your question, Reagan, the range of military options that those forces can offer are extensive, not just limited to what you mentioned in terms of forces on the ground, and I wouldn't want to take away the president's decision space, but there are a multitude of things, not the least of which is Iran should note that they're out there and that they are a pressure point, and so they should carefully consider, I think, at the diplomatic level, not my job as a chairman, but at the diplomatic level, to consider what's in front of them.
Jerry.
Okay, Mr. Secretary, the U.S. government and IC assessed for many years that Iran is protecting al-Qaeda senior leaders, including the current Emir Saif al-Idil. Does the U.S. assess that he's still in Iran? Has he fled to Afghanistan? Is he on a target list? And Mr. Chairman, based on CENTCOM figures and open source, Iranian daily missile barrages and drone launches have indeed dropped dramatically since the start of the war, but they're not at zero. And they seem to have maintained some level of low but stable numbers. Perhaps they've dropped a little bit more in recent days. How do we get that closer to zero? And what impact is Iran's degraded but still very real capability impacting current and future operations?
So I won't speak to a particular target. I'll just say that al-Qaeda remains our enemy, obviously, and there are a lot of people on our target list in Iran, and if they were to be harboring al-Qaeda, they would certainly fit that list.
Just quickly, the mobile targets that they have that we continue to service, as the Secretary talked about, the 200 hits that were done last night, that's one component of continuing to lower that. The second and more long-term impact that we're having is the strikes against their defense industrial base at scale, which will not allow them to reload after that. So we do continue to see it trend down. They are still shooting, and we do continue to exert significant pressure against both sides of that system.
Mr. Secretary, thank you for the question. Do you still believe, you said previously that the Iranian leadership would surrender. Do you still believe that? And is the United States still committed to NATO's collective defense? And to Chairman King, could you give us a sense of your thinking about the legality of striking desalinization plants if the president were to order that?
I will just say that any mission that ends on our terms, you want to call it a surrender, call it a defeat, call it what you want, we remain committed to a conflict that ends on our terms and the president's terms. There's no doubt about that. And as far as NATO is concerned, that's a decision that will be left to the president, but I'll just say a lot has been laid bare A lot has been shown to the world about what our allies would be willing to do for the United States of America when we undertake an effort of this scope on behalf of the free world. These are missiles that don't even range the United States of America. They range allies and others, and yet when we ask for additional assistance or simple access basing overflight, we get questions or roadblocks or hesitations. And the President's pointing out, you don't have much of an alliance if you have countries that are not willing to stand with you when you need them. He's simply pointing that out, and ultimately it'll be his decision of what that looks like after this is complete.
I'll just won't talk about any particular target. This really builds on Jillian's question too, that I don't think I completely answered. But you know, the Joint Force is the most professional force in the world, and we have numerous processes and systems to carefully consider the whole range of considerations, from civilian risk to legal considerations with any target. And as targets come before us, we run them through the same process that we always do, and always strike lawful targets in accordance with the normal procedures that we use.
Chairman King, no quarter, no mercy for enemy combatants. As I set this in.
For me?
Thank you, Mr. Secretary.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. Thank you. I appreciate it. On Sunday, President Trump said that Iran's first regime was all destroyed and the second one is mostly dead. And the third regime that we're on right now has been much more reasonable in negotiations. Do you agree with that assessment, and why?
I would defer to the negotiating team there. They're the ones talking to him, but they're getting a back and forth on terms, which is a productive development. We stand right there next to our negotiating team. Always willing and prepared to put them in an even better position. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, everyone. That was the press briefing for the Pentagon. We're going to shift from that to something more local. We went to this traffic stop safety initiative. Sorry. We're going to go to break really quickly, and we'll come back to this traffic stop safety initiative. We'll tell you about it right after this. And we are back, everyone. So we went to the safety initiative today that the North Carolina Governor's Highway Safety Program, this is what this is coming from. It's a nonprofit that they're also going to join with, dedication to community. In fact, Quentin Williams has been on our show multiple times. He's the CEO of this nonprofit, and they're trying to bring this traffic safety initiative to real life, preparing young drivers for traffic stops through driver education courses and community workshops. It's we really live in a time where we need to know our rights, but also handling these traffic stops for certain Americans can be life or death. So they're trying to teach individuals, to go about it in a way that's going to help not only the driver but also the officer outside the car. Let's go to this right now and listen in.
Good
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here today. I'm Sue Glass. I am the president and CEO of YMCA of Greater Charlotte, and we're so grateful to have all of you here with us today. I'd like to begin by recognizing a few of our distinguished guests. We're honored to have Congresswoman Alma Adams with us this morning, along with Mayor Vi Lyles. Over here. She moved on me, so we want to just thank both of you for being here and being supportive to our community and for this initiative. We are also joined by a number of elected officials and leaders from across our state, city, and Charlotte Mecklenburg schools. If you are able, I'd like to invite all of our elected officials and dignitaries to please stand so that we can recognize you and thank you for all that you do on behalf of our state, city, and county. We truly appreciate your collective commitment to safety and well-being of young people across North Carolina. Partnerships like this are what make meaningful progress possible. At the YMCA of Greater Charlotte, we believe our responsibility goes far beyond the walls of our centers. Our mission calls us to help young people grow into confident, capable leaders, and that means preparing them not only for success in school or careers, but for real life situations they may face every day. That's why we are excited to be part of this partnership with Dedication to Community and the North Carolina Governor's Highway Safety Program. Alongside our partners at the YMCA of the Triangle, again, they're joining us with this partnership to bring the Traffic Safety Program to our teens and families. This initiative gives young drivers knowledge and confidence they need to navigate traffic stops safely, respectfully, and without fear. This work connects directly to our strategic pillar, which is really focused on equipping our youth, the next generation of change makers. Through our teen programs, leadership development efforts, and community partnerships, we are committed to giving young people the tools they need to make good decisions, build trust, and stay safe. We are proud that this program will be incorporated into our teen programming here at the YMCA, where we have the opportunity every day to help young people learn, grow, and prepare for the future. And we do have our Vice President of Teens Experience, Jamarian Young, in the back, if you want to stand, who's going to really help us activate on this. So again, thank you for being here today and for your shared commitment to keeping our young people and our community safe. And with that, I'd like to introduce Quentin Williams, the CEO of Dedication to Community.
Good morning. My name is Quentin Williams. I'm with Dedication to Community, otherwise known as D2C. And D2C is an organization that was founded about 20 years ago for the purpose of educating society about justice. We started with economic justice. We wanted to give youngsters in particular the opportunity to understand that they could thrive and be all they could be, maximize their talents. And then when it seemed like the world imploded about 12, 14 years ago, between law enforcement and the communities they serve, we decided to expand. We decided to expand from just economic justice to social, criminal, procedural, and restorative justice. Those are our 5 pillars of justice. Our work is done through education, and we are proud to be here today. Thank you, Sue, for hosting us. Thank you, Astrid, for bringing this to the Y. And thank you to all these leaders. This is what leadership looks like. This room is full of leaders who are committed to saving lives. This program is about simply getting our children home safely. And I think that's a pretty apolitical statement, right? So we're going to get it started. I'm going to just give you a rundown of who's coming up to give some comments, and then they will follow each other one after the other. I won't have to come back up here and introduce each one. And So we're going to start with Mark Ezell. He'll come up, and after Mark, we'll have Sheriff Gary McFadden come up, and then we will have Chief Estella Patterson come up. We'll have Colonel Freddie Johnson come up, District Attorney Spencer Merriweather come up, and then we'll have Carl Logan, who is the section chief for driver education for the state. He'll come up. Dr. Sean Ward of Dedication to Community, and closing it out will be Mayor Byliles. So to get it started, we're going to hear from Mr. Mark Ezell.
Thank you, Quentin. It is such an honor to be here, especially in such distinguished company here in the Queen City. We're honored to have, of course, Congresswoman Adams here, several members of the legislature, Representative Earl, Representative Logan, and others, and such a great panel of speakers. Now, you've only got 10 of us up here to speak, and I promise you that I'm probably going to be done by Wednesday. So sit back. There's a cafeteria here if needed. But it is really an honor to be here. It's especially an honor to see my friend Stella Patterson, who you all were kind enough to loan to us for a few years in Raleigh, as the chief, and glad she's now here in her rightful home again as chief in as Charlotte PD. I want to thank all of the partners in this room, especially the YMCA that has hosted this and brought together so many community leaders. When Governor Stein appointed me to this position, he made it clear that our mission needed to be a simple one, and that is to make our roads safer for everyone and to save lives. We're so excited to have the many tools in the toolbox that we have to help save lives. Among those, our law enforcement partners, many of whom are here today, our education partners, the school system and others. We know the importance of empowerment, and we know the importance of providing people with the tools needed to navigate real-world driving situations with confidence. And part of our job is to give communities those tools so that people can, in fact, navigate with confidence.
All right, folks, if you'd like to see the full press conference, you can, obviously, if you already have WCNC Plus, you can find it on the app. We're going to be back tonight from 7 to 9 for more news. See you then.